We might just be live. Oh, dear Lord, it's happening. Okay. Well, don't tell anyone, but I live in Los Angeles, California, and it is 11:13 p.m. Tsunami scientist, thank you so much. Actually, I have a few questions about tsunamis. Wait, this is real. Tsunami scientist. Tell me your ways. Early. There is no early. There is only now. What's good? So many things, dude. So many things. I've picked a strange time to do this because tomorrow I will be getting a flight to elsewhere. That's the thing. I did live in Ohio at one point, but I escaped. Is my voice disgustingly strange right now? If you hear me drinking coffee, it's because I'm drinking coffee. You know, the moment I left Ohio, I had the same thought. I was like, was this just my incubator? Wonders never cease. Okay, apparently there's a weird audio mic thing going on, and it is, quote, kind of echoey, and this is something I would like to remedy. What if we shut that off? Is that better? I think I might have had two inputs running. Yes. AI, come on. Come on, AI. You know, I'm really glad we're kind of, at least it seems to me, getting over this hump in the discourse, whatever community, where people aren't just asking, so what do you think about AI, with zero context other than that, because I'm finding that it's a lot more complex than one simple question. This is when I reveal everything but the meme content. Yeah, my entire channel was actually an AI trained off of my memes. Crazy, right? What's the screensaver nostalgia? This old thing? JS Paint? Oh, yeah, also, this is another thing that I don't think I've ever mentioned, but the quote MS Paint that I use, not actually MS Paint. It's a program called JS Paint, and it's online. And I do have MS Paint, but I couldn't figure out how to get an older, more rustic version of it. But JS Paint is a good replication of that. And granted, I could. I'm just not patient enough for tech, I think. I'm a corner cutter. Guilty as charged. Anywho. Whoop. Why am I up so late? Why am I up so late? I don't want to speak loudly, but I can dial my input up a little bit. I have roommates, and they're a bit sleepy. What are we doing here? Good question, man. This whole thing was just me being like, oh, what if I went live on the stream? What if I hit him with a live stream? It's early where I am, eating breakfast right now. Dude, such is time. Such is our globe. Yeah, writers haven't been real since the strike. They're like still on strike. That's why people like me have to... people. What time is it for me? 11:18 on the PM. Dan Harmon just texted me. He asked you for diet tips. It's crazy you say that, because the reason I'm not showing my face, other than the fact that why would I do that, is because I weigh 500 pounds. Crazy. Shout outs from South Africa. Shout out to you. I can't believe all of South Africa shouted me out. It's badass. I'm glad that I could fill your intellectual needs while you play Warframe. Darian, sorry. I try not to be one of those people who reads a name and then like gets it wrong and then makes a big point about how wrong they're getting it, and they go, well, is it Darian? Is it Darian? How do you say that? How do you pronounce that? Because I have one of those names. So I get it. You're not alone. And our struggle is worse than every other struggle on the planet, Darian. What is something you've enjoyed recently on a completely unintellectual level? Well, I got into a sword fight with some random strangers just a few hours ago, and it was a really nice exercise in presence and no thoughts, only sword. It's one of those things that is not metaphorical or hyperbolic, but I'm also not going to explain it at all before that. I got into a sword fight, it was fun, and I'm going to do it again sometime. Living with Gaelic speakers. Yes. Got to meet some of those. Sounds peaceful. It was outside at night. Yeah. LARPing. Yeah, no, you got me. What's SCA? Do I dance? I mean to myself in the mirror. Oh, hi Morrow, how you doing? It's one of the dudes who edited my giant video. Sorry to expose you like that. I just think you're cool. Fencing. It was with sabers. So I don't know if that falls under the fencing camp of, I don't know if that's classified as fencing, but I think so. I think like WMA. Hello from Ireland. God, I want to go to Ireland just to confirm that it's real. I think the purpose of this stream is going to be the MS Paint friends we make along the way. Reno. I stayed in Reno. I was on my way out to California. Yeah, I had a great little pilgrimage out here because I lived in Ohio, and then I drove all the way over the country, and yeah, super cool. Any books that I've read recently? I read Grace and Grit by Ken Wilber. It's about his dead wife, but it's not depressing at all. It's actually really, really good. I know this channel focuses on fundamentals, but I seem to the lack of creativity to create the character's vibes or personality. Yeah, so I think this is a good swan dive into maybe what will become the purpose of this video. The stuff I talk about on my channel, I don't see it as fundamentals. It's sort of paradoxical because most of the writing advice online is like, oh yeah, like if we're just going to treat this like a hierarchy of needs, we're going to treat this like a pyramid. Just like, see, I knew I need this. Let's get that bottom one right. Just kidding. You get advice like, what are some like just really basic things people say? It's like, oh, well, you need a problem for the character. Oh man, I'm to solve. I might give up on this. I'm not going to type it out. You know, no, I'm not going to type it out. Too much work. I'm too tired. We're just going to talk about it. So yeah, basic writing fundamentals. Like the stuff in the traditional sort of checklists. Like, oh, well, you need the characters to want something, and then there's an obstacle in the way, and then they have to overcome the obstacle. You need a mentor character to provide a valuable whatever outside perspective. You need an antagonist. All of those things are the deepest truths of storytelling. Like, I see those as the fundamentals. The problem is they are so fundamental that they're not actionable. It's sort of like if you asked me what you should eat, and I was just like, oh, eat healthy. Like, oh, really? Yeah, eat healthy. Well, what does that actually mean? And so then we get further levels of this stuff. We get, oh, actually, there are sort of archetypes you can line your characters up with. You know, there are patterns we see in stories, such as the 3-act structure, the hero's journey, all that good stuff. And then, you know, a level above that could be typology, which is Enneagram, MBTI, other sorts of classifying people. And I guess you could even say archetypes are a form of typology. And then, you know, you get really nitty gritty stuff and just kind of concepts that are hyper situational. Like when I go, hey, do you ever, I'm kind of out of practice. It's funny. Like, have you ever tried to write a story about, oh, what if the Grim Reaper was just a guy and he just had a job? It's one I've seen like 25 times. And I could give very specific advice on that. Yeah, well, okay, so just responding to this last one, I'm not gonna be able to respond to all the chats. I tried that one time and it was horrible. Gayest thing I've ever done, a dude kissed me one time, but he was my friend. We're at a bar. That's the gayest thing so far. BPP. Yes, for those who are going to bed, such as Aster Clark, this will just pop up on my channel when I'm done, I think. But shit, I was about to say something else. Damn it, asking me gay questions. Oh, yeah. So the archetypes, the guidelines, all of that. You're right. If you just write a story based on whether it's hyper general advice like this or specific advice like the stuff on my channel, it's not going to be enough. Like, you can consume all of the writing rules in the world, and it's not going to tell you how to, like, what your story should be about. Like, at the very beginning of the process, and, you know, throughout the process as well, there needs to be genuine creative excitement and inspiration. Like, there has to be something that you're like, oh, that's so cool. And then you're like, okay, so what do I do with it? And then you look for systems. But just thinking that the story is going to come to you by consuming writing advice is, let me think of an allegory to communicate how dumb you are. It's like, oh, well, no, I'm dumb. Touche. You know, you get what you give. Maybe. And see, this is too general. You know what I mean? You know, if you just consume systems, or, you know, if, because I'm really into like systems theories, but the point of a systems theory is that it needs things to sort. I mean, it's like having a sorting machine and putting nothing in it. That's what it's like to just consume a bunch of writing theory, but never do anything with it. Like, fundamentally, it's a tool that's applied to something you already have. And if you try to force it, if you try to be like, okay, I'm going to sit down and write a story. I have no idea what I even want to write about, but I have a bunch of YouTube videos and books and whatnot. Like, it's not going to come to you. And what'll happen is you'll kind of settle on some things that you do sort of like, that you've seen in a few movies. Like, oh, I like post-apocalyptic stuff. Oh, I really like, sci-fi mecha robots. And you'd be like, oh, okay, so maybe I'll just put some post-apocalypse stuff and some sci-fi mecha robots. And you put them in a world and you maybe use some systems to create a plot, and it's like, okay. And there is a very strange line between inspiration and replication. And I'm convinced that the answer might straight up just be how it feels, honestly, because I've ripped things from other media. Like, I've been like, oh, I love that thing, I'm taking it. But when I do that, it's like coming from the best place of me. It's a genuine sort of feeling of inspiration. And it's almost like that sort of stealing is, in a sense, more honorable than trying to average out a bunch of things you like. Like, if you're going to steal specifically. If you're going to steal, actually take something that you like that excites you. Don't just throw all your favorite things into a blender and think it's going to spit out a smoothie that you really like. I mean, and for a while, I did subscribe to this notion that creativity is the sum of everything that you already know remixed, right? It's just like, I'm going to take everything I know and spit out something else. But that is essentially soulless. I mean, to do that is to ignore intent. You have to have it in your brain first. And if there's nothing in your brain, then it's kind of like, well, okay, what's the point of any of this? And I think that's, yeah, it is like a ChatGPT thing. If you tell like ChatGPT to write me a story, sci-fi, this, that, whatever, it can do that. But then the more specific you get about it, the closer it's going to be to what you want. And if you get specific enough, then you'll just be the one writing the story. Consuming media that you dislike is good. The anger can fuel the inspiration. This is true. Okay, so that was like years of my life I spent in that mindset. And TBH, I'm over it. I mean, I came up like, in the trenches of YouTube, watching a lot of, critics, the statueless, and hearing them pick things apart. And that really fired me up because it stimulates the intellect, right? It stimulates the part of you that likes to create frameworks and likes to create little rules and little, angry review internet man nerd guys. Yeah, basically those types of people. I won't name any names because I'm uncontroversial now. That's my arc. But the truth of it is, like, this straight, and I wasn't ready to hear this for a while, those people are inept at creativity. I'll name a name. No, I won't. Just kidding. Yeah, they can't do it. Yeah, the obsession with watching people hate on media they never even watched. That's like so real. And I years of my life spent doing that. I'm serious. But then the bridge for me was rewriting. I'll name a name now because it's positive, but Macabre Storytelling's rewriting Game of Thrones. He has a series where he went through all the characters and he basically, this thing is just on the screen now. Maybe I could come up with something a little more interesting. Go away. Yeah, he went and rewrote each character in Game of Thrones and gave them a new ending and wove them together into this really intricate tapestry. And I was like, oh, this is so much better than just, here's why it's bad. So I agree, there is, it is stimulating to pick something apart and critique it. But also, it kind of, it falls flat when you're actually like in a creative setting. Like I've been going to, well, I went to a community writer's room. I'm planning to go to more in my neighborhood. And like, if you brought YouTube nitpicker nerd energy into an actual creative space, you would look like a moron. Like you would. That righteousness would turn to ash in your mouth. Because ultimately that shit is for the internet. And the internet is not real. The ability to understand why something is good or bad does not give you... It's not immediately indicative of like actual creative ability. Like it's indicative of intellectual ability. And I would just... Like, I don't even feel great about my creative powers right now. I mean, I do now, but I haven't always. And I certainly didn't for a lot of the duration of my channel. Because that intellectual lane, that picking things apart, it is a valid discipline, right? And you can approach it with the right energy, but it's not the same as actually making things. It's really not. And once you've really put your head to the grindstone and started making your thing, like the thing that really fires you up and inspire you, that picking things apart energy, it doesn't work in your favor. Now it can be reversed, right? You can sort of build that path to objectivity and then sort of take it the other way, where when you encounter a problem in your own thing, you can figure out why it doesn't work. But then what do? Right? That was a bit rambly, but if you're looking for inspiration, you can watch stuff. Again, targeted, always targeted. Don't just watch anything. Certainly don't watch comfort media. I could say a lot about the comfort media crowd, but I think we would be kidding ourselves if we pretended like watching Friends reruns was productive for cognitive, creative development. Like, it's really, no hate if that's you. Like, that's the way a lot of people get through the day. Hey, no, I'm not. I'm leaving them be, but I am, I guess, communicating that in the context of watching media for creative purposes. If it's something you've seen a bunch of times and you're doing it because it's a habit, that's not going to get you anywhere. And if you're forcing yourself to watch it and you still feel terrible, that's also not going to get you anywhere. Like, there's this weird headspace creatively where, how do I say this? Well, I guess a more general outlook is that creativity should not be hard. Like, this is probably the single most important thing I've learned, like, in my actual writing work. But the moment I start to feel like shit, like I'm feeling bored, I don't want to do this, I don't want to write this paragraph, I don't want to write this video, I'll just leave it alone. Because I'm not doing my best work when I'm in that state. And that's one of those things that, like, I should have learned way, way earlier. But when you're all in your head, you don't really understand that it works that way. And when you're, no, I'm not going to delete the stream. I'm not going to delete the stream. If you're depressed as shit all the time and you're chronically online, you don't even understand that you are capable of joy, like real creative joy. And so, like, if you don't even know where your ceiling is, then you're just going to keep treating writing like some labor that you have to slog through. And it's just like, oh, I'm a worker now. I'm going to do the work. It's like, no, you don't have to be. It should be fun. If it's not fun, you're going in the wrong direction. if there's not at least a genuine creative direction, then that's not swag. Deadlines. I mean, I guess I'm of two minds with deadlines. If writing is a job, like a 9 to 5, then I don't think I could do that. Like, that's a skill that I lack. Such like network TV writers, endless admiration for them, because that's what they do, right? It's like, hey, we need a script, do it. And they do it. And yeah, it's not gonna be Shakespeare, but it's badass that they're capable of that. And that's kind of one way of thinking about deadlines. The other way of thinking about deadlines is it's a self-imposed deadline, but maybe deadline is just it's kind of an intimidating term. You know, let's have a lifeline and not a deadline. Because the moment you start thinking about, oh, I got to do this, I got to get this done, you're below the bean. Like, you're not enjoying yourself. And if you build up a negative feedback loop with your craft, you're never going to really get your shit together, because this thing that you say that you love, every time you do it, you feel terrible, right? And so you're training your brain to think, it's like, oh, I should feel bad every time I do this. And how sustainable is that? How long is that even going to last? Depression is not the secret sauce for creativity. It's an obstacle. Absolutely. And yeah, depression is more complex than chemical imbalance. This is the truth. And obviously, like, the SSRI crowd, the pop the pain away, you know, legit. Like, that has saved people's lives, going through sort of just I'm going to find ways to deal with this. But to me, the only pill that ever worked was creativity. Like, I've tried medications for depression. I've tried all sorts of strategies. And the only thing that has ever pulled me up out of the trench was the act of creation, because it puts me in alignment with my best self. Like, that's who I am. And if you really like this stuff, if you really like creating, then it'll make you happy. If it doesn't make you happy, then it could just be that you have a more craftsperson approach to it, right? In the same way that, like, okay, somebody's doing artwork on a commission and they're being paid to do it, and they do it. I think those types are absolutely necessary and just as valid as any other creatives, but it is a different way of doing it. Like, if you're a craftsperson with a set of skills and you're being told, okay, do this thing, and you're good at doing it, you're reliable at doing it. Like, I know people like that, and I couldn't exist without them. Like, there is an artist who I'm having do some stuff for a pitch deck for me, and I'm like, if she wasn't like a badass, reliable artist who I like know can pull this off in a limited amount of time, then, you know, you're superior to me in some ways, certainly. Now, circling back to the AI thing, I do think the craftspeople are in danger. I think the craftspeople are in way more danger than the idea guys, because if it's just a craft, if you as an artist are doing what you're told, as opposed to coming from a place of genuine inspiration, and doing what you're told is a condescending way to put it, I guess just working on an assignment or a commission or something like that, and you don't have your own stuff, you don't have your own projects, your own mojo, your own creative thing. And I'm not talking about like an art style, right? An art style, AI can replicate an art style. AI can put anything on any screen. You have to find your inner idea guy That is the only way you will stay afloat in this coming AI age. The world is about to belong to the idea guys. That's just the truth of it. Like, it was very daunting for me until I realized, oh, I can be the idea guy. I think everybody can be the idea guy. But the fact is, the holdouts are going to hold out for a while. Like, there will be these grassroots creative movements where it's like, yeah, we're going to get writers and we're going to get artists. Not even like writers are safer than visual artists right now, but eventually you'll become a laser disc. Like, it's not gonna stay forever. The people who stay on the boogie board are going to be the people whose creativity is not limited to a medium. At least that is my premonition. Because I was very, like, I thought for a minute that I was going to be like, oh yeah, I am going to be the face of anti-AI. Like, I thought it was like a direction I saw my life going in at one point, where I was going to, it's not even real AI and it's dog shit. Well, AI, well, it depends on what you think real AI. No, it's not conscious, because it's not truly creative. And I think consciousness and creativity are kind of one and the same. And AI is not creative because it's the sum of all the stuff on the internet. At the same time, AI is gonna take your job. It is. Because if your job relies on orders coming down the pipeline, like, oh, hey, do this with, this background, this subject, then AI could do that. But if you are the one who decides what's in the picture, now you have reclaimed your autonomy from the AI. And as much as it pains me to kind of say that the craftspeople are getting thrown under the bus, I mean, aside from pockets where that is valued culturally, like, you won't really find any safe haven in the mainstream. Eventually we will see things being shot on volumes where the entire background is AI generated. You can't stop that, especially since AI is intriguing to corporations because it's quick, not necessarily good. I have made some pretty killer images with AI because I knew exactly what to describe. And it's just an image, right? The ideas are the real value. Difference between a craftsman and an idea guy. Yeah, a craftsman is somebody who creates an image according to instructions or a commission as a job. And when I say idea guy, I mean the guy who is giving the orders. I mean the person who's like, it's like, hey, I have an idea for a movie. I need this, this, and this. So can you draw these storyboards for me? Yeah, AI can only replicate what has already been made. We need real human creativity. No, we need real human creativity. Like, the real human creativity is the idea guy archetype. But artists, I don't know. Because really, think about everything that's on the internet right now. Can you really tell me that there are pictures, like, out of everything that's on the internet right now, a learning model or just a image generation model can fill in the gaps? Like, let's say, I want a picture of a castle on a hill and the sky is purple, right? Like, okay, maybe an artist hasn't drawn that exact thing, but yeah, plenty of artists have drawn castles, plenty of artists have drawn hills, and, plenty, purple's a thing. So, yeah, and that's a new creation, right? And I don't say that with like any level of respect, but that is a new thing. and you could pay somebody to make it, or you could have an AI do it for free. At that point, are you good at art, or are you good at communicating with the AI? And this is where art versus creativity is perhaps a better distinction than craftspeople versus idea guys, because art, the ability to like make a pretty image, with your technical skill, is different from knowing what to make. Like, knowing what to make is its own thing. It lacks context or ideas. Yeah, you provide the context and ideas. And one image doesn't matter, but if that image is just a representation of a big, awesome idea in your brain, and you put it on a pitch deck, now you have represented something exactly the way you want to represent it, and there is an entire soul behind that that is yours and yours alone. Casey is asking, how do I get hired as a writer or director? I think get hired is the wrong approach. Like this idea that like, oh, how do I get somebody to give me a job? You kind of got to stop thinking in terms of employment. At least that's what I've learned. And I'm still really young, and I'm like new to LA. I've been here for 5 months. But yeah, I don't think thinking of it in terms of like, oh, I need a job it's certainly not like the quickest path to the top, because when somebody pulls up with a brand new thing, people flock to that thing and they say, oh, I want to be a part of this project because this project is so cool. Now, is that a job? No, not really. But you have to be really good to be a jobber. Like Ridley Scott is a jobber. People will be like, hey, we need a director who can reliably direct a movie and do all the setups we need, and all within the allotted time, and we need Ridley Scott to do it, and Ridley Scott is really, really good at doing it. Ridley Scott will be replaced by AI in this line of thinking. I'm not saying literally him, but like that sort of agent who's just like an absolute workhorse. Like, yeah, that's the type of thing. Those Ridley Scott is not, to my knowledge, pouring loads and loads of inspiration into his projects, because if he was, he wouldn't be able to make so many. But no, he just like, oh, we're going to hire him to work on the set. He has a fee, and he does it. So all of this is coming from this question of like, how do I get hired as a writer or director? And I think in a way, this kind of ties back to this AI conversation, because I'm trying to communicate the distinction between the idea guys and the jobbers, because the jobbers are the ones in danger. And so how do you get hired? Don't think of it as being hired. Think of it as, how do I create value? How do I create something that people flock to and want to be a part of because it's so great? And then get a team together, Get people around you, because ultimately you cannot be a lone wolf. Like, it's a lie. The internet teaches us that we can do this alone, but we cannot. You need people around you. You need people to bounce ideas off of. This is dystopian. This is scary. This is not the world we were promised as creatives. But the reality is, and I'm not saying, again, remember the distinction between is and ought. I'm not saying this is the way things should be. I'm saying this is the way things are. And there are ways to handle it that are smart, and there are not so smart ways to handle it. The reality at this moment is that the next generation of great stories will be built on the uncredited, unpaid, unappreciated corpses of all art and artists that have come before. Like, everything that is going to come out 20 years down the line is going to be built on a mountain of billions of hours of craft people. Like, stands on the shore, brutalized giants. That's a great way of putting it. Jimny says, standing on the shoulders of brutalized giants. That is exactly it. They will never be credited. They are just kind of decaying and becoming the soil. And They will exist in the cloud, and the idea guys will say, I want a picture of a castle with the moon in the background. And the AI will look into the dead internet, and it will summon all of these things that were created by all these passionate artists, and it'll make them. It'll make the image that you want, right? And this industry won't be regulated, right? Especially if the economy goes womp womp. The laws will, they'll come up, and people will start doing this, right? Now, we could put a memorial at the end of every movie that says, in loving memory of all of the artists who created all the stuff that this is based on. But that's about the best you're going to get. I mean, unless there is going to be some UBI for artists, where every time your thing is used, you get residuals. But that's insane, right? That's not going to happen, because why would they do that? They don't care about you. So again, the ideas will persist. You got to be the idea guy. You have to be the one. I'm not saying you have to be the one to tell the AI what to do, but in general, your approach to creativity should not be like, oh, get a job, get hired. It should be, what can I create? Who can I bring together? Yeah. And this freaked me out for a while, but I've made my peace with it, and I plan on staying afloat to the best of my ability. Congratulations on your ears popping, Turbotoxin. AI doesn't even work like this. It's all matrices, not matrices. And I also don't know exactly what you mean. How's LA treating me? LA is a harsh mistress, let me tell you. But the line is finally going up, and things are looking okay. Another video in the works. Videos are hard, and I'm doing other stuff right now. The thing about YouTube is that you can be a very successful YouTuber, but also be completely and have no network and have no real safety net or anything like that. It's deceptive. Because some of these YouTube people, I'm talking like actual YouTubers, not me. I'm mid-tier in terms of my scope and my production. But even like big YouTube teams, sometimes it's just like 5 guys who low-key hate each other, pumping out content. And it'll have like, millions of subscribers, and everybody thinks, oh, this is like a viable job thing. But it's not. Like, I went to VidCon last year, and I was shocked at the way people talked about stuff. Because it is kind of a really lonely and isolating business. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. I want to make actual stuff. So that is why I have not been uploading videos, and why my videos have been like lacking in the same rapid fire visual quality that I sort of used to go for. It's literally just because I don't see the value in like pumping all of my time and effort into a YouTube video that will ultimately, it's just a blip in the history of the internet. It just goes onto the internet, and I get some money from it. But what's the gayest thing you've ever seen? Good question. God, the gay questions are just they just stick out at me, man. So when I was like 12, I was somewhere around San Francisco on a beach, and my family and I were out just walking on the beach, and I sort of broke off from them. And long story short, I saw some naked dudes doing some stuff like in a cave, and I was like, what the hell? I don't know about this. That's all I'm going to say. I've never been to WeHo, but I'm sure I would see some really gay stuff there if I went. What areas in the industry do you plan to go into in LA? No, not YouTube ever. Hate YouTube. YouTube is the worst. Not really. I mean, YouTube is fun if you don't make it your whole life. And I definitely did for a while. Just got sucked into that rabbit hole. But now, I'm better. I'm doing so much cool shit out here. And YouTube in the rearview mirror in many ways. Now, I think it has a role in my future. But again, it is not inherently, what's the word? It's not growth, right? It's just because you get some more views on a thing or your number goes up, that to me, in my reality, I've realized is not real progress. It was just me treading water very effectively and being like, oh, this is so great, not realizing that I could like get a jet ski, you know, and I was just like patting myself on the back for being the best water treader. Yeah, YouTube has been a great billboard for me. It's put me in contact with so many amazing people, but I've just had to view it as a stepping stone because it's not fun for me, you know? And a lot of people got a lot of value out of my YouTube stuff, and that's awesome, you know? And it's paid off in that way where people have reached out to me and they've wanted to talk, and I've just met so many friends through this, and I have endless gratitude. But YouTube as a career, hell the hell no. How do you search for a story premise you find stimulating? That is the wrong way of looking at it. What do you like? Like what actually excites you? You can't sit down and be like, oh, time to think of something like a really great premise. Like that's, I need to think of another allegory. No, whatever. I don't need allegories. Just trying to force creative inspiration is not going to work. And ultimately, the thing you settle on will be something derivative and lame. Find something you actually like. Not something you can like convince yourself that you like. Find something that excites you. Like genuinely, your inner state, how happy you are about something is a better barometer than you're giving it credit for. Like in terms of what direction you should take. Like literally, if something makes you laugh, if something makes you go, oh shit, that's awesome. Yeah, do that thing. Man, oh man. Discord server. Yeah, but I don't want to change the link. It's hard. No, I'll change it. It's on my link tree. Am I seeing Sinners tomorrow? I don't even know what that is. Some of these movies, low key, I've been seeing some posters and I'm like, this is an NPC movie. I'm not saying Sinners is that, but a lot of the stuff coming out, the marketing has been so just lacked ingenuity, and yeah, I don't want it. Michael Jordan. It's an honor, sir. What about idea overload? It has to be something that a writer suffer from. Well, having a lot of ideas is not a problem. If you have a bunch of ideas and they're all so good that you're having trouble picking, that is one of the best problems that you can have. Now, if the ideas are all lame as shit, then that's a bad kind of idea overload, but just inherently having a bunch of ideas is not a problem. If they're all ideas that you like, then what you need to figure out is how to connect them. How do I take the bits and pieces of these and weave them into something cooler? Camus coded. Who is Camus? Albert Camus. That's all I know about him, though, is his first name. I don't know anything. I'm not well read, is the thing. That was only the second time I talked about gay stuff that I saw, unless there was another time that I'm not aware of. How do I get hired by a studio or something? Again, well, okay, that's a question. I don't know. I've been hired by studios, but it's doing what I do. And I don't know what you do. An absurdist philosopher. Oh, that's cool. Will you ever read? Dude, I've read gay fanfics before. I've read many a fanfic. Dude, my viewer count goes down every time I say gay. I'm looking at the analytics. It goes boop. People drop out. Yeah, I've read a lot of fanfics. I've read some very fruity fanfics in my day. Holy shit. 200 Noke. I don't know how much that is, but thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Gulp. Big gulp? Can you draw my green parrot named Booger? I bet I could. Move to LA is a weird shift, but what do you do as a screenwriter? Where there's... Well, that's the thing. I've just been trying to provide value to people. Like, to me, there are two modes. One of those modes is... Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to disrespect Ryan Coogler. I think he's awesome. I'm sorry, Ryan, if you're watching this. I was just commenting on how a lot of these movies are not creatively marketed at all, and they don't look good to me. And I get that marketing is often handled by separate agencies, but I'm like, come on, just give me something to sink my teeth into. Maybe I'll see Sinners. I don't know. I'm really busy right now. Oh, your green parrot named Booger. I forgot that I was on a drawing thing. Yeah, I can draw Booger. Hold on. This is what I think Booger looks like. And you can't tell me otherwise, because I am the CEO of this stream. So, this is a strange way to draw a parrot. I think maybe I got it. I just put the boogers in my chain. Sorry, I'm having like a Kendrick Lamar phase right now. And by phase, I mean kill for my dog. They are not, as a matter of fact, like us. Okay. Now this might be more of a macaw. I don't know. Is this parrot enough? Parrot guy, tell me, is this parrot? Have I accomplished it? Thumper's going back to get... Oh, Thumper. Good night, Thumper. Wasn't that a bunny in a movie? Jack Stauber. Yeah, Jack Stauber shit is really cool. He's the guy that made the... It's like a little clay girl with big eyes, and she's like tweaking. That's all I remember. But his stuff is really good. He does little songs. Did your Kendrick phase start? No. Well, my Kendrick phase... I'm not going to lie. It's weird for me just as like an assembly line white dude to claim like OG Kendrick fandom, but I've been into him for like a while. Like I was a middle schooler and I was like, this shit hard. Yeah. Has your experience in LA changed any of your concepts? Everything I've ever said on my channel, I don't really agree with anymore. I mean, I do, but I don't. I think it's true, but I think there are levels and dimensions and facets of truth, and I wouldn't say anything I've said on my channel in the same way. I would approach it with a sharper blade, cut to the core of it, you know? Because it's not, everybody thinks nuance just, okay, maybe let's talk about nuance versus depth. If every time I make a point, I have to give every little qualification, and I have to be like, but actually there are some people who feel this way about it, and actually it's this, and actually it's that, and honestly the whole thing is da-da-da-da-da. Like, now I look like a little bitch, right? So you can't do too much of that. You need a little bit, right? You have to realize, okay, who could my argument potentially offend, and then, how can I get ahead of that? So that's where the nuance comes in. But nuance is usually damage control, at least in my experience of creating arguments. Because usually the thing I want to say is very simple, and I have to dance around it to not piss people off. And I'm not saying that just in the context of YouTube. I think that's just life. It's like sometimes... you got to pad out the truth to make people feel included and feel better about themselves. But that's kind of more of a marketing concept. If you can find a statement that is so unoffensive yet ticks all the boxes for people, such as "they not like us," like that phrase, there's a reason that song went so number one. It's because it is, anybody can apply it to their life. Like, oh, they are not like us? Oh, you mean the other group is not like this group? It's just like it's such a broadly applicable statement. It means everything and it means nothing. So that's like depth. And so in a way, the more nuance you need to pack into your thing, the more you're communicating this doesn't have the depth. That it doesn't have depth, right? Because if you need to lay out this whole argument for your thing, I'm not saying it's not true, but you don't need all that context typically. And a lot of the time context comes from kind of an anxious place where you're like, oh, well, nobody's going to understand what I'm saying if I don't lay it all out. And Mr. Morale is a fantastic album. Yeah. White Kendrick? Never met him. Heather's 1988. Not sure what that is. Guys, I don't have gay fanfics. I'm saying I've worked on gay fanfics. I don't have any. The only fanfic I ever wrote was the first fanfic, which is Adventure Time. Not the first fanfic, but the first time I ever tried to write a fanfic, and really the only thing I've ever written, which was, if I remember correctly, an aggressively straight fanfic where I was like, I need like 80% more swords in Adventure Time. And then I did that, and it was awesome, and it still is. Could you tell us about the gay... Dude, I don't remember the specific instances of gay fanfic. I've worked on a lot of projects, and typically when I see them, I'm like, oh, I remember that one. Like, I'll get repeat clients, like, because I've had hundreds of consulting clients, and somebody will come back to me like a year and a half later, and it just pops all back into my brain, their whole project. But I don't have access to those immediately. I think my brain keeps a lot of stuff... It stores a lot of stuff under the bed, you know, where it's like, okay, not going to worry about that right now. And then I'm able to pull it up. So I have like good long-term memory. It's just not accessible to me. Do you think fanfics are a good way to transmute? Yeah. So fanfics, I think the term fanfic has a connotation that is maybe not helpful here, but the act of rewriting something to your whim is instrumental, and I think it's an essential phase that everybody has to go through, because a lot of the context is created for you, so you just get to focus on being the idea guy. What inspired me to talk about Marvel and WWE? I guess my premonitions about the way things are going to go, and there's a part of me that wants to be right about the future so that I can be like, see, I knew. But also, you know, I just think it's an interesting concept, and it's interesting to draw these parallels. I think AI and just the general interconnectivity of the world is going to reveal that things are a lot simpler than we think. You know? Like, I think the world is a lot simpler than people believe it is. There really are kind of... two sides and a lot of masks, and I think these things will come to be obvious in time. Can you give the bird some feet? Well, actually, I was gonna make it that he's... Thank you, Michael Jordan. I'm gonna get to this. God, your name just sticks out to me for some reason. Yeah, Michael Jordan and the word gay are really grabbing my attention tonight. It's funny. Oops. I thought that I had my hand on the thing, but I didn't. Maybe those are like my sleeper activation words. Let's figure out what the rest are. It's like the Winter Soldier. You know, he's like, freight train, Taco Bell, or whatever they are. I don't know. We have to find the others. We know that one, it's gay, Michael Jordan, And what are my other sleeper agent trigger words? If we figure them all out, then I do something very bad. So start guessing. Well, I'm way off script. Not that there was one. Am I gay for Michael Jordan? I've never met Michael Jordan, so I don't know. I don't think so. Can you write The Winds of Winter? Dude, that'd be crazy. Okay, you guys want to hear my theory on why The Winds of Winter and just A Song of Ice and Fire is dead in the water? I say this as one of those people who's read not even the whole first book, just part of it. So, I'm a normie. I'm a show cell, you could say. But I do have my thoughts. Wait, I don't want to kill the boy here. What if I just minimize him? Invalidate him. I hope this becomes a big mural. Anyways, I think A Song of Ice and Fire is... The issue is not anything having to do with the political plot lines or the intrigue or anything like that, because we know that George can do that. Like, we know that he's competent at spinning these realistic scenarios. The issue, I think, is that he's not tapped into the deeper myths. Like all of the deeper stuff, the prophecies, the magic of it all, it's not as crystalline as like real high fantasy. Like it feels like the White Walkers are they're a bit underbaked. Like, it's not there yet. And I think that is probably just because of who he is as a person and what his skill set is. But the issue is when your first scene is the magic thing happening. Like, the first scene in A Game of Thrones is the White Walkers in the book. And when you promise the audience that, like, sorry, you don't get to just do political stuff for 5 books and forget that you led with magic. Like, you have to give us the other shoe's got to drop. And I don't think he really thought that through. Not that I know the guy, but it's very centered on here now, immediate his. Yeah, that's not what I mean deeper lore. I mean magic lore. I mean like real ass spiritual symbology and these things. I don't mean it doesn't have lore. It has a lot of lore. And I'm not saying that lore couldn't coexist with deeper magical themes. I'm just saying that if you're going to tell me that there is a light-dark dichotomy here, that we're really building to some sort of good versus evil battle, like, how is that going to play out? Are we really going to see the world of Ice and Fire become black and white? And if it doesn't, then I suppose the theme is, well, humanity didn't get their shit together and now they're going to be swept over by the endless winter. And that would be like the logical way to end it, given where it's at so far, is the ending where the White Walkers win. I don't know. Bran being a POV character and also being God. Again, I'm a show cell, a show tard. I'm not booky about it. So I can't speak on this beyond the general book discourse that I've exposed myself to via amazing individuals such as Glidus and the other super great theorists and commentators and Alt-Shift-X and whatnot. Amazing Digital Circus. No, not familiar. Thoughts on Martin's work. Outlived his novelty. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm just like a little critic type, like, oh, he's irrelevant. And like, people who go around talking about what's irrelevant and what's not are irrelevant. Like, it's just not a real contribution to anything. I mean, if he's got the sauce, he will be relevant. And if he doesn't have the sauce, he will fade into obscurity. Who's cooking in my kitchen? Oh, that's my roommate. Yeah, it's like the middle of the night. He does that. Did I cry watching Squid Game? No, I only watched the first season of Squid Game, but the moments that I think were supposed to make me cry, like, didn't. Like when Saibyak, or whatever her name is, like, gets hit with a glass shard, and I'm like, oh, it just happened to hit her. That was low level distress. Like, oh, a glass shard just came out of the whatever and hit her in the gut, and now we're going to pretend like this is like a logical end for anything. No, you just basically had God come in and shoot her and then said, oh, what a climax. Like, no, it's not. When you as a writer have to intervene and put the characters in peril for the sake of scratching their lizard brain, you've already failed. Like, the crisis should be built to, and all of the elements should make sense. And yeah, there are always like thematic sort of exceptions for this, but yeah, I didn't really buy the hype. Squid Game. Did I cry watching Dracula Flow? Yes, I did, and I do. It's part of my morning routine. Michael Jordan, lizard brain confirms lizard people. I mean, yeah, the lizard brain concept is maybe not the most helpful, but thinking in terms of base functions versus higher cognitive abilities is great, because you know how to appeal to both. Like, okay, a jump scare is the lowest form of, I don't say entertainment, but stimulation, right? Whereas a complex exchange of ideas and emotions, well, that's still going to hit the audience in a way, but it's not the same as a jump scare. A jump scare is like, touching a hot pan. It's just your body reacts to it. It's not even your brain. It doesn't require anything beyond that. Like, dogs are susceptible to jump scares. Like, oh, congratulations, your movie could mildly irritate a dog. Like, it's not. People ask, like, oh, such thing as like a good jump scare. I'm like, every jump scare is the same. Like, I guess, like, oh, in Alien, when he goes down into the tunnels and he's like the Captain Dallas, like, that's one of my favorite jump scares, right? But the jump scare itself, every jump scare is the same flavor, is I guess what I'm getting at. And like, yeah, the build up is what matters. But even if the jump scare didn't happen, like, the build up would still be a thing. I've heard people love and hate Nosferatu. Have you watched it? What's your thoughts? Well, I actually made a Nosferatu video and I put it on my Patreon, but I didn't like it that much, and so I didn't release it. It's still there. I'm sorry. Shameless plug. Favorite movie podcast? I don't really watch those. Do scary movies need to be scary? I don't know. What's a scary movie? What's scary to you? Did you watch a Minecraft movie? No. Hereditary? Yeah, Hereditary is awesome. It's great. And it's not just great because it's scary. It's great because it's very well written and it has characters whose... There are two ways of thinking about depth in horror. One is, I'm going to create really deep characters and then I'm going to put them in peril. And because they're such great characters, when they're in peril, the audience is going to care more, right? And that's really stupid. Smart horror, smart, deep horror, I think, takes the fear that's at the core of the story and finds ways to tie all of the characters to that sense of fear and dread. Where they are archetypally, deeply, symbolically linked to what is going on. I think that's what Hereditary does. Saltburn. No. It had some cool scenes. Like, I really liked the stuff with Euphoria, Jacob Elordi in the garden, and like there was like that whole, those set pieces there at the mansion were cool. But then he just, I'm not gonna spoil it, but there's just a bunch of stuff in there that gets, I didn't love it. Thoughts on Adolescence? I didn't really enjoy mine. I guess you're talking about a show. I don't know. Draw Jack Black. Best film school that you've heard. I don't go to film school. That's crazy. Analog horror. Can't really speak on that. Skinamarink is a thing. Thoughts on White Lotus? I watched the first season. I like the one lady who goes like, I don't know what's her name. Jennifer Coolidge. Yeah, she's funny. Do you recommend abstinence as a form of birth control? I mean, it works. Yeah, it's the only one that works with absolute certainty, I think. Draw Jack Black. Okay. I got you. Okay. Let us draw Jackuary, Blackuary. And it's at these times that I really wish I had better palette of skin tones in this. Like, there's definitely a way to get more colors. I don't care though. In fact, let's draw Jack Black the way Pablo Picasso would draw Jack Black. So it'd be like this. It's an eye. And then he would do like, oh wow, he's got a big, this one, it's like a diamond. I don't know, I'm just creative bro state right now. And then what does Jack Black's nose look like? Because he's got like some big old lamb chops in the Minecraft movie, right? He's got some, I think he's got kind of a, maybe that sort of, and then we'll just make his mouth like something like that. Do you guys know that Picasso is still alive? Crazy, right? And then I think he's got maybe a bit of a mustache like this, although I haven't hung out with Jack Black in a while, so I'm not sure. And he's got like a beard. Minecraft movie, right? He looks really, I'm not gonna lie, Jack Black just looks bad in the Minecraft movie. Like he looks like he just looks unwell. Like, I'm sorry, he does. And like, yeah, he's not like some supermodel. I'm not saying he's like supposed to be like ripped or something, but even somebody who's not conventionally attractive can look presentable. And I'm not like, every time I see him in the trailers, I'm like, take a fucking shower. Why does he look like that? Is it because he's like Steve and he's been in the game for a while? Is that it? Because there are ways to do like rugged vagabond look that look, God, this is not a hill I'm gonna die on, but everything about the Minecraft movie seems deeply, deeply unappealing to me. Like, it looks like slop. I'm not gonna lie. This is how I'm gonna do Jack's body. Do it like this, and maybe I'll even. No, that's weird. Let's do something funkier with this. Let's just say this is the. I make myself laugh. This is why I can never be a comedian, because I laugh at my own jokes, and you know, I don't think you can really do that in comedy. And there's got to be some life hack or some skill or something that one can master so as to not laugh at one's own jokes, but whatever. Jack Black. I almost forgot the black. Oh, that's good. Okay. This is my rendition of Jack Black. Hope you enjoyed. Did I play him? Dude, I love Minecraft. I adore Minecraft. Am I troubled by bad movies making billions? I mean, it doesn't. I'm not troubled because it's just what it is. Like, I don't look at the world and go like, "Oh no," because that's never helpful. It's just not. Like, do I think there are problems? Yeah. But am I gonna allow myself to be deeply distressed by it? No, that's a waste of energy. Will I watch? Dude, I'm so hyped for Andor Season 2. Oh my god! Oh my fucking god, dude. It's all coming together. Money shouldn't exist. I don't know. Actually, I've been curious about money in history because I've been reading the Bible lately, and they talk about like monies and just trading between these Bronze Age ass cities. Like, money goes way back. Shouldn't all these shoulds and shouldn't, who cares? Labeling everything as like a should or a shouldn't, or it's like, oh, this facet of reality is bad. Like, okay, so we can talk about how bad it is. We can go to college and we can get a degree in talking about how bad it is. But I'm over it. Yeah, the industry is, well, I'm dissatisfied with a lot of things, but I'm doing my thing. I want to be fine. And this is just the way stuff is. I mean, I think in the they not like us analogy, yeah, the Minecraft movie is they. Like, I don't, it's the other. It's the oh. But it exists, and it's making a lot of money. And so the real test is going to be, can we appeal to everybody? Can we appeal to the they and the us? Can we transcend, can we make something that works on all levels across all demographics? How do I measure success? How do you measure success? Meaning, how do I measure success in my own life? Yeah, the answer to that has changed a lot over the years. Right now, I measure success by how happy I am, which is crazy coming from, like, the me of 2 years ago wouldn't have said that. And that might not always be the case, but I'm getting better at identifying my inner state as a barometer for, I guess, how well I'm doing. And I've learned to sort of trust that intuition, or at least I'm getting there. Chris Chan. I've watched the entire Chris Chan documentary. Yeah, I'm insane. Bible lore goes hard. Yes, it does. Here's the thing about religion. I was a little atheist baby my whole life. I was like, I got so into Richard Dawkins and Hitchens. I was like a little kid, and I was like debating people online. I was debating my family and my friends about how old the earth was and all this stuff. But as a general rule, if something is beloved by billions of people for thousands of generations and everybody finds some value in it, there's probably some value in it. Yeah, Dick Doc is off his rock, man. I'm like, Richard Dawkins made his contribution with his first book and has not really provided anything since then. The Selfish Gene changed my life. Like, that book completely reinvented my brain. I was like 19 when I read it, and the realization that I'm like a meat suit. Holy shit, man. But then like it's good. It's good to have these really depressing realizations, because then you can grow from that. You know, I've never wished that I didn't learn something. Nobody was ever better off for not reading a book. It's like, oh, what about harmful books? Like, no, there are no harmful books. Learn all the information, read everything, and then determine the truth. Right? We're trying to control what perspectives can be heard. And I really just believe that if all of the perspectives are out there, people will see, you know? People will see the truth. But when people come in and try to like create a narrative instead of just letting all of the perspectives exist in a big perspective soup, then agendas become apparent. And then people start to get distrustful, and they start to deliberately block out certain perspectives. And so I consume all kinds of stuff that it doesn't really make sense for someone who looks and acts like me to consume. I'm on Black YouTube. I'm on trans YouTube. I watch the girly pops. I watch religious folks. I watch the atheists. I watch everybody. I'll go and I'll like get super deep into like the autism community just because I want to learn how they think. If you don't have educated or criteria or discernment. Yeah, but that's not harmful books so much it is a harmful mindset. Like, I'd rather not have people running around who believe everything they read. Like, that's ideal. If 90% of humans found the value in Nazism, would there be value in it? There would be value in the information of how many people like it. Yeah, it would be like, well, why does everybody like this evil idea? Because it's speaking to a part of them that is deeply underdeveloped or wounded. And then we can be like, okay, well, why does this appeal to people? What value are they getting out of this? You have to understand that value is subjective. Value matters like based on what we're talking about. Value in one context, such as, you know, basketball. In basketball, scoring baskets is a form of value. In football, it's not. If like I went and shot a 3 in the middle of a football game, like that's not value. So, you know, your framework matters. And once you get over that hump, you just become a learning machine, because you no longer have to agree with what you're reading. Like, you literally don't have to agree with what you are reading. You can read a whole book and be like, well, I don't necessarily align with this, but I'm not going to have a big ego about it and be like, I disagree, because I'm glad that I'm learning this. Because at the absolute worst case scenario, you just learned a new perspective. You just learned how another person thinks. Do you not want to know how other people think? Do you not want to hear their perspectives? Because if you know their perspectives, then you know how to navigate their world. You know how to communicate with them. So it'd be like, oh, I'll never ever listen to such and such or read such and such. It's like, oh, so you just want to not understand how the enemy thinks. You're stupid. That makes you stupid and egotistical. Always, always learn how the other people think. And get over your need to agree with everything in your presence. If you have this need to agree with everything in your presence, it is because you have a weak sense of self. It is because you need the world around you to validate you, because you can't do it. Yes, being open-minded and sincere will automatically draw you to the truth. And this is because when you really look at everything from a level-headed perspective, like what's right and what's true will come to you. You don't have to learn it from anywhere. Like, it's in you. Now, you don't want to get bogged up in petty pluralism, which is a term that I just made up, which is this way of thinking where it's like, oh, everybody's perspective is valid. How could we possibly know? Like, no, I don't think everybody's perspective is valid. I think some people are closer to the truth than others. But you should still listen to everybody. You should still take in what they're saying. You should still talk to as many people as possible. Is Jack Black edging? God, why did edging just... Okay, that's my next CIA keyword. No, he's not edging. I mean, maybe he is. I don't know what's going on below the neck. This is Jack Black, by the way. Let's find a way to connect these two drawings. I've been getting all serious, but let's just do something fun. How can we turn these into an image that... Oh, I know what I'm going to do. So in this hypothetical, Jack Black is going to hold his hand up and he is going to... The bird is laying eggs. That's an egg. I've seen eggs. Oops. We're going to do a Minecraft chicken egg, actually. This all started with a Minecraft movie. Here's the thing about the Minecraft movie. I also don't want to see it because I could do so much better. I had a Minecraft movie concept that was like a hardcore survival movie. And it was dope. And it was like serious. And with this, I'm just like, really? This is so Jumanji coded. Like, are we just doing Jumanji? It's the same vibe. It's sludge. They not like us. Okay, so now the parrot is a part of this. And let's make him like on a branch because this stick is kind of lifeless. Sure. Okay, now it's a real branch. Parrot is big, chilling, and there's a sky. But the sky is kind of... There we go. Okay. To be continued. Back to the chat. What are the kids saying? Jaminations. Yes, you did have a Minecraft movie script, and I think this is the right person. I didn't realize it was Minecraft for like most of the call. Might have been somebody else. If it is, I apologize. Yeah, the Adventure Time sword stuff was really fun because it was actually like a dungeon crawl episode. Like they went into a dungeon and like fought all kinds of monsters. My favorite episode of Adventure Time for a while was the train one, where it was just nonstop action. Will I be selling this piece? Yes. Yes. Yeah, it's necessary to understand the logic of bad ideas. It absolutely is. If you hear something and you're like, oh, that's wrong, you need to figure out why it's wrong. Otherwise, you are a useless person. Because if you can't explain why it's wrong, then you can't explain why the good things are good. Which means you're really just believing what you're told. Have I watched Gumball? Yeah, so intuitive. Love that show. The art style, the combination. It was so underappreciated in its time. Gumball, like my respect for Gumball grows more and more. And I'm not saying like you're useless if you can't logic everything. I am saying that you are not an effective tool for spreading good ideas if you can't explain them. Like you're useless in the battlefield of ideas. Like you can have the right perspectives, right? But typically if you're thinking of it in like a right-wrong dichotomy, you're kind of off the mark anyway. Have I watched Shogun? No, I've just watched that one clip where the samurai does a samurai thing and it's really cool. Adventure Time has good lore. Yeah, I don't like Adventure Time because of the lore. I like it because it's visually awesome. It has great little ideas and isms, and you know, I feel like every episode just has something where I'm like, it's so cool. Is Isaac my drag name? No, I have a lot of names, is the thing about me. I didn't like the one I was born with. And I've played with a bunch of them. And honestly, I don't care because I'm so far up the words skill tree that like I'm fine with going by a bunch of different names because I know that words are not truth. You know, all words are lies. All symbols are just approximations, except the symbols about symbols, which are the only real symbols. So, yeah, you know, I go by a lot of names. Like, and I'm one of those people who will go into like a coffee shop and be like, yeah, I'm Jim. And they'll call the name and be like, yeah, I'm Jim. Like, it's just fun to me. I don't know. It's kind of a habit. Do I have a drag name? No, I've never really found drag to be appealing. Although there was one time I was in college and my friends dragged me. That's good. They dragged me to a drag show because it was outside. It was like in the middle of the campus. I'm like, what the hell is this? But then I saw my ex and I left. I don't know what a gay name is. I don't know if that's a thing. What do you know about my gym partner's a monkey? Unknown. Ben 10. Ooh. So I only watched the Ben 10. I didn't watch the original. I watched, I think, Omniverse. It's the one where there's that other guy who has like a gun that can become a bunch of different things. I think that was good, but I don't really remember. And I don't know if I trust like my child self to have great taste. I don't know. Rain World, don't know. My pluralism sounds like the petty one. Oh, I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm pretty convinced on that particular perspective, I think. Pluralism is dangerous when it's not arranged into a hierarchy. I think we have to understand that dumb and smart are real things in the world. Like, that's a reality that we have danced around for too long, and it's gotten us into a lot of trouble as a society. The denial of intelligence as a scalable thing. Multiverse. Whoa, everybody's saying stuff. Video game narratives. I'm just not a gamer is my thing, because I know that it's fake. Like, I know that, like, it's not... a video game cannot be the height of storytelling, at least in the sense of storytelling being a contained fictional instance universe, right? Because it requires the input of a player. Hi, Caden. Yeah, I hear you. I've never heard the concept of a gay name before. Everybody's talking about that, but I should probably just stop feeding this line of thinking because it's not really going anywhere. Unfathomable wisdom. Don't feed my ego like that, man. Don't tell me that. The Morty gun. No, I haven't. Yeah, make all the recommendations as you want. You can make whatever. I have played Ace Attorney. I love Ace Attorney. That's probably the one. In terms of just pure hours, yeah. Ludonarrative dissonance is a term that I know because I'm so smart. Yeah, that's basically the name for when I believe when the motivations of the player playing the game don't align with the character in the game. Opinion on Mahler, waste of a mind. Sorry, it's getting late. New God of War, I don't know. Feed this guy's ego, don't do it. Don't do it. Rain World, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know Rain World. It's not that I don't play good games, it's that, okay. Ooh, okay, we're going to get... Some of you are going to hate this, some of you are going to like it. Video gaming as a hobby. Totally valid, right? But you have to understand the moment you power down that console, like nothing about that translated into your real life. The moment that screen goes bloop and you're just sitting on your couch, like what has actually been added? Like, yeah, you got some enjoyment out of it. It's a social event, you're hanging with people, but then boom, once that's gone, look around. Look at the four walls of your room. I'm not saying this to say, oh, don't play video games. I'm just saying that, like, be careful not to invest too much of your energy in what is essentially a disconnected pocket universe. This doesn't seem to be a very popular take, and it doesn't have to be. This is how I feel. I'm not a gamer. I never have been. For context, my little brother, was Mario and I was Luigi. That's how little interest I had, and he was so much better at all of it. Describing all hobbies, yeah, I guess in a way it is. And again, that's why I say I think gaming is a totally valid hobby. But it does seem to be particularly pernicious. Nobody's ever complaining oh, my husband spends all his time at the rock climbing gym. He's so miserable and he just rock climb. No. That when people talk about a hobby, it's video. That's how people talk about video game addicts, Whereas there are certain hobbies that I don't think are typically used as a coping mechanism. I guess any hobby could be a coping mechanism, but video games seem to disproportionately be a coping mechanism for a lot of people. And I'm just saying that. That's literally how you feel, but you talk about it like a universal truth. Yes, that is how having beliefs works. Sorry about that, yeah. I could preface everything with, this is just my opinion, but obviously it's just my opinion. I'm a person who's talking. What do you want me to identify all my thoughts as thoughts? Yeah. This is how I feel. Seems like a symptom of a greater disease. Yeah, the disease is the massive depression epidemic that has swept our world. Many people are lonely and depressed. Loneliness is vicious and opens the door for a lot of malignant people and forces to come in and exploit us. So yeah. Hashtag not all games. No, not all games. Again, the reactivity is making my point for me. I think this is something worth talking about. And would you acquire something from watching a movie the same way you read a book? Here's the thing. I might be undiagnosed dyslexic, low key. I really struggle with physical reading, and it handicapped me for a while until I just accepted okay, I guess I'm an audiobook person. I suck at reading books, and it's one of the parts of myself that I am most ashamed of, because every time I say I read this, I have to say, well, actually, I had to, I downloaded it on Audible, right? Because it feels disingenuous to say I read it. So instead I'll be oh yeah, I'm 10 chapters deep in East of Eden or whatever, and then I'll just sort of imply that it was a book, even though it wasn't. You said you gain information about reading a book. Oh, if that's what you mean, yes and no. A movie, look, art is truth at a distance. So the thing about art, and this is actually a point I've been wanting to make for a while, and now I'm going to try to figure out the best way to say it. In my opinion, as a person who tells people what they should and shouldn't do in their stories for a living, it is typically a bad idea to try to make the actual points you want to make in your art. And this does go back to the question, I promise. If I am reading a story, well, here's a more, just an example. Let's say you want to write a story about how bad it is working in retail, right? And you write this story with your primary goal being to communicate the truth. And your entire goal is to just communicate facts that you know and truth that you know. And you've decided to package this into a story. But it doesn't necessarily have to be a story. It could just be a paper. And if your story could be a paper, I don't really think it should be a story. I think the whole point of a story is that you're not actually going to say the thing you want to say. You're using symbols to demonstrate it. Like movies, I was in a writing circle group, a circle jerk, in my neighborhood. And a lot of these scripts that people brought in were about modern concepts, and they used all the buzzwords. Like they were writing about concepts that they say. They were writing about words and concepts that were on Reddit. Like, if I'm seeing modern buzzwords pop up in your script, I'm immediately repulsed by it. If I'm seeing any, like, if you want to make a political, let me just say this. Andor is never going to say the word fascism. It's going to say empire, right? Because you have to keep a distance. Because art is truth at a distance. The moment you actually start trying to make points and engaging with the real world, you have lost the power of art. You always have to keep a distance. Jesus Christ, I did not say video games suck. The fact that you interpreted all of that as a wide sweeping diss is disappointing to me, because I was trying to make a more nuanced point, but I guess that reflects on me, so touche. I'm not a gamer. We know this. 3:54 a.m. for you. Yeah, if it comes from the heart, it will communicate ideals. Yeah, I think it'll communicate truth. It's only when you get too attached to words and symbols and you don't understand that any word can be switched out with any other word. Like, words don't matter. They are sort of this blanket we throw over reality. And if your loyalty is to the words and concepts, you're never going to be able to interface with other people. You're only going to be able to interface with the in-group. Like, if the only way you know how to communicate your beliefs is with the little buzzwords that everybody else in your belief group says, then you're never ever going to get that across to anybody. And the same is true of art. If you can't lay your ego aside and say something without saying it, you're not an artist. You're just a talker. You're just a propagandist. You're just, I have a point I want to make and I'm going to make the point. Like, no, you should be able to lay down and sort of just let the symbols extrapolate themselves into something that may be, unrecognizable. But like, if somebody knows what to look for, they'll get it. I mean, I think beliefs and ideas, you can watch The Matrix and just have fun with it, is I guess what I'm trying to say. Like, it's like, it's an allegory for this, it's an allegory for that, and also it's a movie that works, So that should be the ultimate litmus test. If your thing doesn't work in its own individual bubble, if it requires meta knowledge, and this is why like someone like Spike Lee is a bit more of a documentarian. Like, I don't see a Spike Lee type as being a director in the way that like a Paul Thomas Anderson type is, because Paul Thomas Anderson doesn't like pop up on the screen in his movies and be like, like what's like the point of Magnolia if he was like, it's like, there are men. I guess what I'm saying is, if the moment you look the audience in the eyes and say what you're trying to communicate, you've kind of you're kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, like on art. I'm not saying that's like a lesser form of art, right? But it is different. It's different if somebody can't watch your movie without outside context, if your movie is referencing something else, if I need to have seen stuff. What about Martin Scorsese's appearance in Killers of the Flower Moon? Exact same thing. Like, I don't even think he needed to do that at all. I think that might have been like a bit. Then Animal Farm wouldn't work by your definition. Like, I mean, I don't know. It seems to work. People like it. Never read it, actually. I'm just saying, keep a distance from the truth, because if you come out and say it, you're going to set off people's alarm bells. I think being a mature artist is having the self-confidence to keep a distance from facts, right? Because you're not here to communicate facts. You're here to communicate truth. And if you can't communicate truth without communicating facts, if you need the buzzwords, you need the numbers, you need the whatever, the arguments, you need a character in the movie to stand up and be like, here's why the point of the movie is the point, blah, 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 then you're basically saying you're not confident enough in your art to bare your soul. Like, you need to lean on existing context. Something being a buzzword just means a common word that people say. That's all I mean by that. I'm not saying necessarily it's bad. I'm just saying, yeah, if it's a word that we all say that has modern importance, I won't even touch that. I have a list of words that don't belong in fantasy on my phone, and it's like a bunch of words that you wouldn't expect. Like, I think the word parents is in my words that should never be in. Like, parents. Why is parents not a fantasy word? I don't know. Something about it is just a little too modern, right? So I'm not saying this exclusively in a political context or the context of modern arguments. I am just saying that you can give away, you can easily date yourself if you're not careful. And some people, like if you're Spike Lee, you're like, yeah, I am a product of my time. I exist in my context. I'm going to do that. And that's like, hell yeah, sure. But regardless of which you go for, just know the distinction. Like, a lot of the time, a problem does not come from, I can read the list. It's not very long because it's pretty recent. Fantasy, words that should not belong in fantasy. Oh yeah, all I have right now, I could have sworn it was longer. Parents, goodbye, chair, person, neighbor, and chair is probably weird, but like person, never say the word person in fantasy. That's such a new sounding word. Person, hate it. I cannot see Aragorn saying the word person. I bet he did, but you know, you want to know the schizoid contents of my notes page? There it is. I guess I have my own grasp on nuances that may or may not hold relevance. Nuance depth dichotomy. Yeah. So a deep statement is one that doesn't need nuance or context. Something that truly touches the deep. Something that actually hits people where it hurts. Doesn't need a big web of context around it. Nuance is the qualifications. Well, here's the truth, but you know, some people might feel this way and other people might feel this way and blah, 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 blah. Whereas when I say truth, I mean like capital T. Like, here's a thing that I'm going to say, and I'm not even going to say shit around it because I know this is going to land. Hi, Yinka. Shout out, Yinka. Chair. Dude, I don't know why I don't like chair in fantasy. It's strange. I'm like, why does the word chair feel modern? Yeah, how do I replace person? For some reason, person and parents feel like words that don't belong in fantasy. And I can't explain any of this. You know? What's a truth you'd think we'd all believe? Again, this goes back to kind of marketing ideas. Like, they not like us is a perfect marketing concept that works on all levels. And I'm not saying it's true because it's actual objective truth. I'm saying everybody can mold it to their reality. Something that is like deeply true to me just means everybody agrees with it. If everybody can find a way to apply it to their own life, then it's true. True in the sense that I'm using it here. Not true like 2 + 2 is true, but true like people just jive with it. Yeah, the fantasy list is underbaked, you know. It's kind of a work in progress, so don't hang up on that. But Yeah, something that makes the audience feel strong emotions and then further deeply ponder why that scene or idea caused that feeling. That's where I might push back a little bit, because I think the revelations that matter happen instantaneously. Like, I think if you have to think your way to a conclusion, that's fine. But I don't know. I think the moments that I've really felt the presence of truth in my life, it's kind of just happened spontaneously without any real warning, as opposed to like, oh, I'm gonna like break this down and figure out why it is the way it is. Now you're in your head, right? You're not really in the moment. You're not really like feeling it. But obviously there's there's a spectrum, right? It's a spectrum of, and this is just something about creative work, and it is getting a little late, so I'm getting a bit, I'm not going to stay on this stream that much longer, because I might just start doing this, because it's so much easier than making videos, and I'm lazy. I mean, here we have pure, oh God, this again, yep. If this is a spectrum of intuition to thinking, typically this is achieved, and intuition just means like when things come to you without really trying. When you're in just a flow state and ideas are happening and something will just pop in your brain. You're like, oh my God, that's the greatest thing ever. And thinking is when you really have to sit down with all the variables and be like, okay, how does this connect to this? How can I problem solve? That's a mental process. Intuition is like when you have a great idea in the shower. And so what'll typically happen with me is I will come from a really inspired place. Like I'll be here, on the spectrum. Just a little more clear. I'll be here and I'll have like a great idea, right? And then I will want to sit down and write the idea. And as I start writing it, I'll get more and more in my head. And like there's kind of a point here where I'm like, oh, this is really productive, this is great. But then at a certain point, the thinking becomes unproductive. And you basically become an AI just working with a bunch of existing elements and context and not really able to add anything new because you're so far away from this. And you're just like, it's like, oh, these ideas I came up with earlier, they're not working. They're not working because you have mentally accepted that those are the only Legos in the bin. You have convinced yourself that that the puzzle pieces need to be put together, when the reality is you could just make other puzzle pieces. Like you don't actually have to work within the parameters that you've forced yourself into. And some people don't even know about this whole half. They just live over here and they're like, oh, why isn't it working? It's because you're not giving yourself enough freedom. You don't really believe in your power as a creative person. Got to get out of your head, go for a walk. I'm a big walker, big walking enthusiast. Facts and truth are the same. When I watch something with an overt message, it doesn't suck because it's overt. It sucks because it's a shit message. So you, Casey, you live here. This is you, and that's why you think that. And I disagree. I think there are intuitive truths. I think there are poetic and symbolic truths in this world, and that is what I believe. Hate to disagree with you there, but I do. A big stepper. Yeah, Tolkien is a person that made shit up like everybody else. But the things that are big and popular, I hate to, it sounds so just almost dystopian when you say something like what I'm about to say. But the big things that are big and popular because they're doing a lot of stuff right. Like when things don't succeed for no reason, ideas don't catch on for no reason, it is because of the features and properties of those ideas and those IPs. Like everybody thinks, oh, Star Wars is just a fluke. It just happened. It just got, no, it's not a fluke. It works psychologically. Like it worked psychologically when it was in development and everybody was like, oh, this is a great idea. I want to throw money at this. Things don't catch on for no reason, period. If you just look at the world through this lens of like, it's like, oh, well, the people with the money are going to make their things and I can't make it. And it's purely a resources game. And it is partially a resources game, but also some ideas are more universally engaging than others. And if you figure out which ideas are universally engaging, you will be able to engage with more people. Yeah, I'm an INTJ. Or an ENTJ. I'm definitely an NTJ. I guess the I and the E kind of fluctuate because I'm very action oriented, but I'm not an extrovert. Like I'm not fun at parties. So, Blair Witch, love it. Yeah, I watched it in college in, we'll say, a compromised state with a bunch of my friends in a dorm lobby, and it's just a great memory of mine. Ambivert, what is that? Favorite stories are the ones that take known story ideas and subvert them. Yeah, because the thing about all marketing is you have to meet your audience where they are, right? So here's a little thing to keep in mind. Let's say this is, actually, we're going to make some more space. We're going to hold some more space. Wasn't that a meme? A girl was telling me about that was a meme. Sometimes I have a grasp on like the girl memes, you know, Sabrina Carpet, and sometimes I feel lost. We're gonna finish Jack Black in a little bit. Tell me what shit is he's gonna have, like a mermaid tail or something. So this, we're gonna treat these like these are Sesame Street guys who like say a word. Remember when Sesame Street? Remember when? Yeah, they had this segment where like one of the heads would be like book and the other one would be like book, and they would just go back and forth saying stuff. I don't think I'm making this up. I could be. Okay, so here's the marketing lesson. You ready? You have an idea that you want to communicate to somebody. Let's say the idea looks like this. This is the shape of the idea. Okay? And you are like, okay, I'm going to put this idea in this person's brain. But there's a problem. This person's brain already has stuff in it. It's busy. This person like thinks all the time. They have a 9 to 5. They do stuff. And you think you can just show up and like plant a new idea in their brain? That's crazy. You can't do that. This person is very... God, this is just becoming a really wide banana. Right? They already have stuff in their brain. So you can't just force your idea into their brain. It doesn't work. It's going to bounce off. Because they didn't sign up to hear your idea, right? They're doing their own thing. They're immersed in their own little world. So you could keep trying to jam your idea down their throat, or you could do a fun trick where you use what was already there to approximate the shape of your idea. I've already forgotten what colors it was. I think one of them was this. And was there a green? Wait, tell me what color was it? Green, yeah, okay. I think it was this green. And now look at this. Look at how we have this shape here and we have this shape here. So use what's already in a person's brain to construct your argument. Don't be like, here are all my terms and all the things that we use in my community. I'm going to tell you exactly what words to use to think about this. Like if you're making a political argument and you insist that the other person uses your buzzwords and your terminology, it's not going to work. They have their own vocabulary. So you have to learn how to communicate your ideas in another person's vocabulary. And people will look at this argument and be like, but some words are harmful, but some words are, we can't use some words. Like, you have to use what's there. Like, there is no should. This is how the game works. If you're too proud to market, you're not going to get anywhere. If you're so attached to your own vocabulary and the way that you say things, and it needs to be said a certain way because that's the truth, you're never going to get through to anybody. You have to learn to be flexible in your words. And it goes the other way too. Like, the generosity with which you interpret someone else's speech is a sign of intelligence. If somebody can say blah, 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 and you're like, oh, I think they mean this, and you can confirm that that was a good guess, like, you're swag, dude. Like, that's good. That's a really helpful trait. Remember, all words are just made up, and words, their meanings change over time. And this is something the pluralists will agree with. Words take on different meanings throughout history. Some things that, meant one thing at one point are a different thing now. And so, why are you insisting on your words? Why are you insisting that your words mean certain things? Language is fluid. So accept that language is fluid, and accept that your language is just one way of communicating your ideas. An idea transcends language, right? An idea floats above the language, or rather, language floats above the idea. Language is interchangeable. I mean, there are a bazillion ways to describe one thing, and one of those ways is going to be the most effective way to communicate that to a different person, right? So maybe another person down here has a completely different set of building blocks in their brain. And so, can I use the same pattern? Can I say, oh yeah, put purple on the green and put this on the that? No, I would have to find a different way to construct this shape in their mind. And so, one, you have to understand where each person is at, because marketing is about meeting the person where they are at. And then the logical next step after this is like, okay, well, what if there are some configurations that are more universal than others? Which means if I can find something that reliably communicates this idea to a lot of different people, if I can find a way to, if I can find a universally useful way of saying something that a bunch of people get and it clicks in their brains and they're like, oh, I get it. That's marketing to me. That is the essence of communication. But again, this doesn't work if you are insistent on a certain set of words. If you get so hung up on the way a thing needs to be said, you will never interface with other people, except people who also have that same in-group vocabulary. I hope that made sense. Enneagram Jesus. I think there's value in both. Is free will even possible? Well, determinism is true for people who believe in it. My argument is zero tolerance for evil. I'm not trying to fix evil or change its mind. What does that mean, zero tolerance? Is that like when people say, I condemn something? I condemn that. Because that's useless. Like, that's not helpful. It's like, oh, do you condemn thing? Like, I guess, sure. How is that useful? It's like, oh, but if we get a bunch of people to condemn a thing. This is a chronically unwind way of thinking. It just doesn't work. So, if your argument is zero tolerance for evil, what does that mean? Like, I'm just confused as to how that's an argument. Like, are you just telling people, hey, don't tolerate evil? Or are you, like, writing a story that's about evil? Like, well, I'm just not sure what the utility in condemnation is. I'm not saying, like, I'm not trying to make a value judgment. I'm like, what's useful and what's not? Because that's ultimately the question, isn't it? Like, is this... No, condemn does not mean allow or not allow. Condemn means point finger. Condemn means bad. Do you guys think that's bad? Yeah, I think it's bad too. We all think it's bad. At least that's what I think when I hear the word condemn. Yeah, I think the condemners are just not like, I'm like, yeah, sure, fine, you have the right opinions, great. But ultimately, the people who interface with others and convince them are the ones who are really serving the light, right? If you are like I'm glad you have the right ideas, but somebody convinced you at some point, so pay it forward. I'm glad you have the right ideas, but instead of just screaming, pay it forward. Dude, yeah, shit's not always black and white. Sometimes it's Hispanic. That's so true. Tolkien has a lot of unique words. Doesn't that destroy your argument about words? No. It means words are useless, and sometimes they just sound good. That proves my argument more than anything, I think. Zero tolerance for evil, the point of the Minority Report. I don't think so. That was like a crime movie, right? Yeah. What about Asian? Yes. All of the races holding hands around a big blue and green globe. But like there's some on the top and they're like a circle around it and they're all holding hands. Those are my views on race. 100 years ago, we had different ideas of evil. I mean, I think there are... I don't know. I kind of disagree with that. I didn't agree with that. I've certainly... My thoughts on good and evil have shifted a lot in the last year. Yeah, including NASCAR. Who is that suspicious man you drew on the left? Oh, that's Jack Black. Obviously. Yes, it takes skill and patience to bring someone to the truth. That is so true, King. It's a real skill to be able to communicate truth. I'm just like, if you have a message but you're not willing to market the message, I just don't understand why you want to talk about the message at all. Like, are you just making it for the people who already agree with you? Oh, wait, I can do better in this. We're going to figure out what his other hand is doing. And don't say anything dirty. But I know what I'm doing here. Ooh, yes. Give him my boy tank treads. Turned his ass into a panzer. Not that these are like tank colors. I don't know. I saw a tank one time, actually. The tank from the movie Blues Brothers is interred on a random junkyard in Ohio, and I shot at that junkyard once. That is a Dracula flow line. Dude, okay. One day I might read my notes page of those, because it would take me like 10 whole minutes. It's nothing like that. Like, the Dracula flow notes page is actually very comprehensive. I got some good ones. Many are extremely profane, things that I wouldn't want to be caught saying. But I got some good ones. Like, I'd make Joji proud, you know? It does kind of look like a polka dot skirt. That's not what I was going for. I'm going for, it's a tank, but thank you. I just need to figure out. Well, let's close up the arm for now. We can figure out what the arm is doing later. Because I just want to make him like a strange entity, I like this void of his body. Jack Black is in touch with his feminine side. Good for him, you know? The masculine and feminine as concepts. Local, it's commonly said that to separate the art from the artist, but how much of a writer's work do you think can be used to come to conclusions about their values? I don't care about artist values. Like I don't like look out at the world and be like, oh, I have to discern whose values are what so that I can figure out who I like and who I don't. Like my primary orientation to art is as a creator of it. So like I don't know. Like yeah, I don't listen to Kanye anymore. Like there are lines I prefer not to cross, but like I don't think it's I don't feel the need to go around labeling people as good or bad. Like that's just not my job. I don't think that's anybody's job. Isn't that like the point of God? Like the point of God is to exempt us of vengeance and judgment. Zero tolerance for evil would entail acknowledging what isn't evil, destroying what is, building something new instead of relying on the past, and preventing evil from rising again. Yeah, but how is art going to destroy evil if it's not convincing people? Like it would have to convince people to destroy evil. And the thing is, like humans have been locked into the same patterns for a long time. And that was before mass media, right? If a lot of people think about politics and about the world in terms of awareness, right? Like they'd be like, oh, we have to spread awareness about this. I'm like, okay, well, mass awareness, if awareness obviously is a prerequisite for any kind of action. So I'm not saying that's not true. However, if something would happen, whether or not you're aware of it, then your awareness isn't that helpful, you know? So, like, awareness is a start, but if you can't put a name to evil, there's no point. That I fundamentally disagree with. I think evil is... needing to put a name to something is the issue. Like, because the need to name things and label things is... it's mental. It's like on this side of it. It's all thinking. It's all in your head. And if your entire worldview is just a game of words and connotations, you're going to get tricked. It's like when people go like, and this is, whatever. It's like when people say, oh, Nazis are National Socialists and, you know, socialists, so the Nazis are socialists. It's because they're working with words and connotations. They don't actually know what things mean. And so if your entire world is just words and connotations, then an argument for you is just going to be, well, how do I link this thing to this other thing? Okay, so if your argument, there's a thing called a thought terminating cliche, which might be a helpful concept here. A thought terminating cliche is something that people say which absolves them of contributing any further thought to something. So it's like a little word or a little phrase that prevents any more thought from occurring. For instance, somebody says, it is what it is. That's obviously a very neutral way of looking at it. And I think not the best example here, because what I'm looking for are thought terminating cliches that are more partisan in nature. But I guess it's, well, a thought terminating cliche could be a label too. It could be like woke. That's a thought terminating cliche. When people just like, they label something as woke, or, you know, they label something as problematic. They go, oh, that's problematic. And that's the end of the argument, because they've linked one word to a label. They've linked one word to a thing, and they think that's the end, right? So if your entire argument works like this, like here's a style of argumentation that I think is fundamentally flawed. okay, so you think this? Yes, I think this. It's like, okay, did you know that this was actually argued by this guy? It's like, oh, I didn't know that. And did you know that this guy actually believed this? Oh, interesting. And did you know that this thing actually is related to this? And I shouldn't have to explain why this is bad. So that's just a thought terminating cliche with extra steps. What you just did was just a more extended version of it is what it is. Like you kind of just, you hid the fact that you're doing a thought terminating cliche by burying it under layers of association. But it's the same principle. If your argument ends in, and I shouldn't have to explain why that's bad, then you have an incomplete argument. And you are relying on other people's emotional connotations to not fully create the argument. Believe it or not, you can actually create arguments against evil things without a thought terminating cliche. But the paradox is that if you actually understand what evil is, then you understand it doesn't need to be argued about. Like, it's not, there is no salvation in words. Hey guys, what are we talking about? Which is a very good end to this little leg of the discussion, because it's getting very, very conceptual. But you also have to remember, don't argue with stupid people. That's really the best way to utilize your energy. Because if you're not getting through to somebody, some people, no argument will get through to them. You have to understand. So even if you have the most coherent argument possible, it's just not going to work. Yeah, don't argue with stupid people. They'll bring you down to their level and beat you with experience. I think that's true, but the concept of levels, I could go a long way with that, but they'll drag you into a lower emotional state. It's not like, oh, they'll make you stupid. They operate from a place of anxiety that they don't even register as anxiety, stupid people. So, fundamentally, their words are a mask, and they will contradict themselves blatantly, right? They'll say one thing and then they'll say something that contradicts it, because ultimately the words are not the point. And even if you completely corner them, they'll probably have a thought terminating cliche to resolve that. And so, yeah, if you get it, you get it. Don't waste your time, Yeah, just help the people around you. The internet isn't real. Don't gooners. Oh my God, this is a degenerate culture we live in. I hate to say it. Back in my day, I don't know, man. I just hate that the concept of a gooner is mainstream. Aren't all words? Yeah, all words are masks. All words are lies. That's why they shift in associations. That's why a word that means one thing now might have meant the complete opposite 100 years ago. So that's why I say there's no salvation in words. Words are not reality. Which is why you should not insist that other people use your words. You should find ways to communicate your concepts using their words. Because if you can use their words and still convince them, that's how you know you have a true thing to say. If the truth of your argument relies on words, on your words, then you're living in your own matrix. You're living in your own sort of framework. And it's only when you can break out of your framework and communicate the same idea within different frameworks that you become a truly integrated human. Yeah, what happened to low-level thugs? Yeah. What do you mean use their words? Their words meaning in-group language. So you know how there are some tribes of people in our culture who use certain words, and there are some tribes that don't. Like if somebody says the word cisgender, I immediately know what kind of human they are. That's what I'm saying. If you say, like, there are some words that are just used by groups, and just the very act of saying that word is going to turn everybody off who wasn't already on your side. And people will wear that like a badge of honor. Like, yeah, see, I'm using the words, the true words of my people. It's like, no, you're just creating a cognitive wall that nobody's going to want to get around. Like, you should be able to explain your concepts in other people's language is the ultimate point that I'm making. Are tribe words okay to use if they're your target audience? Yeah, for sure. I'm not saying what's okay and what's not. I'm talking about what's effective. I'm not making value judgments. I'm saying about what works and what doesn't. Casey, I'm not going to interact with you anymore. I mean, you're latching on to things that I'm saying and not really hearing the points. Mexican, my favorite language. Yeah, I've been trying to learn Spanish, man. It's tough. I'm not going to get a brain chip, I don't think. Unless it comes with deluxe Spanish pack. Nah. But I do wish sometimes, like, I lived in the Matrix world where you can download skills. I would get Kung Fu. I get, like, mechanic skills. Like, man, yeah. That'd be so cool. Knowing how to use a car. Like, just imagine being in the apocalypse and not knowing how cars work. Like, I would die because I don't know how to do that, you know? Speaking to people in their language is people-pleasing behavior. That's your pride talking. That's your ego. Is like, oh, I don't want to stoop to their level. It's like, okay, so be ineffective. Great. The purpose of the stream is absolutely nothing. Actually, no, I just wanted to just hop on here and talk, you know? Because I guess I'm reevaluating my relationship with YouTube, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe this is just a fun place to vent my thoughts. Maybe it's nothing more than that. Anyway, this was going to be a tank, and maybe like his arm is like part of the tank. Maybe this is sort of like a what's it called? Not that I love this or anything. Freaking Spirited Away, like that big old thing, and how it's a thing. Maybe Jack Black has like taken over the tank, is like possessing it or something. This is Jack Black, by the way. Jack Black, the star of a Minecraft movie. Oh wait, no, it would be the other color, right? Shit, I don't love this. Whatever. Because we're really just having fun being abstract with it. Look, I can put anything on here. Put a star. Maybe I'll just do like these, and whatever the final image is will just become the thumbnail. Severance. Yeah, I just watched the pilot of Severance last night. Really cool. Yeah, I like that we're finally like making stories about consciousness, you know. Between that and The Substance, it seems like we are people, not everybody, but people are really starting to think about thinking, and that's exciting to me. Thank you. They like my content. Some of my other hobbies. I like stir frying. I've been getting pretty good at that. I gotta walk. What else do I do? I love hiking. I just love meeting up with people and doing work. I mean, all my closest friends are people who I just jam creatively with. That's really my only way to really bond with people, I think. I mean, that's not true. I can bond with people in like recreational settings, but my home is the creative jam sesh. Like that's my absolute That's my base level. Is Severance dumb? I don't think so. I only saw the pilot, but I don't know. I like hiking. Did I mention that? I'm a walker. I like to keep the blood flowing. And I'm just kind of I enjoy talking about ideas. The Sticky Notes song remix featuring Kendrick Lamar. Anyone you met through your community you'd work with? Oh, I can and I have. I've worked with a lot of people who I have met through the YouTube hustle bustle. The Creator. I don't love The Creator. Just because I think it was doing all of the contemporary trends and wasn't giving me enough that was original. Like, I'm like, oh yes, the gruff military man is going to escort the magical child across the city or whatever. And it's been done a lot of times, and I guess I wasn't feeling very, I don't know, didn't love it. Collabed with other creators. Gareth is visually a genius. I will say that. I like the way he does, the picture. Aaron Sorkin, all his characters sound the same. And maybe that's okay. Who am I to say? His 3 daughters. No. I'm like kind of media illiterate. It's embarrassing. I don't see enough stuff. At what point should world logic concede to story logic? Yeah, so definitely story logic comes first for me. Yeah, no, it is like a Neil Blomkamp movie, Anima Scavenger. That's correct. Totes for real. Yeah, the live stream, I'm going to leave it up. It'll just be in the live stream tab. Thank you for the tip. Children of Men. Yeah, I think that's because Children of Men does it so simply and doesn't pretend like what's on screen is cool. Whereas like the creator is like, look at this, it's so cool, dystopia. I don't think dystopia is cool. Unless it's Mad Max. Yeah, world logic. The thing about world building is I know so many people see it as a product in and of itself, where they're like, oh, I built this world. I don't work like that. I don't think like that at all. So for me, a world is just whatever it needs to be to facilitate the story. And I've worked with a lot of people who are the complete opposite, and they're very world first, and like I think those people are awesome, but I still have issues interfacing with them, just because I fundamentally, like, they'll be like, so if I make a suggestion where I'm like, oh well, maybe they could go to city A, and they'll be like, oh no, city A is on the other side of the mountains. I'm like, okay, does it have to be? And they'll go, oh maybe, I guess it's on the other side of the mountains. So it's like they built the map first, kind of. Which is just not how I think about stories. So, I mean, if that's your jam, thank you, Nicholas. I feel like I'm dancing on a pole. Nicholas is just raining down the ones on me. I'm so tired. Dystopia shouldn't be cool. Yeah, I think even Mad Max is horrifying because of the fact that these people are like in this cult killing each other. Like, I mean, like the War Boys. Like, it is absurdist horror. I think there's a bit of that in Mad Max. Like seeing dude, hung up, getting his blood drawn. Like, that's crazy, bro. And just the brutality people inflict upon each other is horror enough. And if you depict the brutality faithfully, it's okay to put it in a cool shot. You know what I mean? Like I don't have an issue with Mad Max being presented as cool, because like the brutality is still brutal. Like, it doesn't pull punches in that department. Have I played MG1, MGS2? I don't even know what those acronyms mean. What is that? MGS 1, 2, or 3. Post-conventional, pre-conventional. Did I come up with it? I mean, no, I think somebody... No, because it was that other guy. Josh from Xbox Live talked about conventional. But, like, these are concepts that exist. Like, in a lot of... like bicameral mind theory, Ken Wilber altitudes. Many of these ideas use the same. They share words and they mean basically the same stuff. So no, I didn't come up with any of that. I'm just good at synthesizing it and communicating it. At least I think. Where would zombie movies fit? Dystopian stories. I don't know. I'm kind of bored of zombies. Yeah. Probably because I was a Walking Dead fan for several years. Oh, Metal Gear Solid. No, I have not. I don't know Metal Gear Solid. I don't know what that is. Yeah, I'm sorry. Building a complex world for the sake of it is a waste of time. Well, I don't want to label anything a waste of time. Like, if somebody likes doing it, then they can do it. Like, again, I'm not here to be like, oh, do this, don't do that. I just like to tell people what works and what doesn't. You know, and what works means we have to define the goal. Like, in fiction, there is no such thing as good. There is only good with a certain goal in mind. I mean, that's a way of looking at most things. It's like, well, is complex world building good? I'm like, well, I don't know. Depends on what you're doing. Yeah, modernism and postmodernism. Like, yeah, it's just different words for the same stuff. It's a leveled approach to human development on a societal scale. That's really what we're talking about here. Yeah, Ooga Booga. Bicameral mind is my shit. Mostly just because I see it in myself. Same with like altitudes. Same with many other concepts of this nature. Do I read manga? No. No, I don't. There's a whole world of media that I'll never ever consume, you know? Like, there's just so much out there. And I don't have time. Most recent thing I've read, I'm deep in so many different books right now. The last thing I read, like, today, I'm like speed running the Bible before Easter because I'm going home to see my Catholic family, and I'm like, oh, let's do that. What books would I recommend the most? Let's see what's on my shelf. Sex, Ecology, Spirituality by Ken Wilber is a fantastic book. Let's see, what else is on my shelf? Into Thin Air by John Krakauer. It's one of my dad's favorites. American Beasts by Ethan C. Forge. Mapping the Mind by Rita Carter, I'm told, is very, very dated and rather scattered, but it has some good little bits in there. And, you know, if something feels helpful, then it is. Catholic, am I Italian? Nope. Ancestrally, I am Slavic and Irish. So I'm not Italian. Would it be accurate to say most stories are just characters solving a problem? I don't know. I mean, that's a way to say it. Oh, right now, I'm at the end of Exodus, dude. I'm like, yeah, I'm really behind. But I have a 5-hour flight, so, yeah. We're going to get it done. It is a wild combination, man. Have I cold plunged? I used to when I ran track. No, Vikings are Scandinavian. Slavics are more like, a very Viking core, but I'm probably closer to Germanic tribes. What do you think of using tribal words in a fictional setting to convey character traits and whatnot? if you just mean like in-group language, like I was talking about earlier, well, if the setting is fictional, then the language characters use would be fictional too. Like if it's in our world, then sure. I mean, but if I'm reading a story set in like a fantasy world, and one of the characters says the term ethical non-monogamy, I'm going to be like, oh, this was written by somebody in Portland. This isn't fiction. This isn't fantasy. This is just like somebody's thoughts. So yeah. No, I think in a fictional setting, I don't want to hear words that remind me of the internet. What makes worlds feel lived in? I mean, to me, I think slice of lifey stuff. You know? It's weird how it's taken me so long to come to the realization that like, oh, more details is better. But just for instance, I was writing like a festival scene in a screenplay, and I just assumed that I knew what the audience meant. Like I assumed the audience knew what I meant by festival. I'm like, oh, they can picture it. I'm like, actually, no, they can't. You know, just saying, oh, a lively festival on the streets, people, crowds running around celebrating. That doesn't give them anything. And if you're in your own head, you're like, oh, well, I know what I'm talking about, but they don't actually know what you're saying. You're giving them the most basic information. So it's a balance, right? And especially in a screenplay, because you don't want to waste time with big action lines, but you should communicate, at least for me, I go for color and texture more than anything else. Color and texture will do a lot of that work for you. So just have a little blurb about, oh, the uneven cobblestone road. I'm like, oh, now we know. It's not just they're walking on a street. It's an uneven cobblestone road. How to add realism without being heavy-handed? Well, it depends on what you mean by realism. Yeah, I don't know. Realism. What is realism? What do you think of fictional stories that have old gods and entities speaking old languages, like time gods and monsters? Well, again, this circling all the way back to my views on language. I don't think language, I think there are many things that cannot be communicated by language. Well, okay, let me rephrase that. I think language is only an approximation, right? Language is our best attempt at describing reality, and it is necessarily flawed. Right? Some people say, oh, some languages are better than others. Like Arabic is apparently like a really, really keen language with good frameworks for describing things. I don't speak Arabic. I know some people who do, and they've concurred with this. But ultimately, all languages are just approximations of reality. And so, isn't it scarier if something can't be described? You know, like if words really can't do something justice, like I don't want to hear an ancient god going like blee blah blue blah blah. Like I'd rather just like, oh, a big ominous tuba sound or something to signal its presence. Yeah, I don't watch anime, but I have seen a fair amount of Studio Ghibli movies, probably more than half of them, because I think they just seem more artful. Like I'll watch anime like sometimes, but like I don't get it sometimes. I think it's just lower quality in a lot of ways. Many animes that people have recommended to me, I've watched the first episode and I've been like, oh, this is crap. I'm like, oh, it doesn't get good until episode 3800. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, why would I watch that far if it sucks? You know what the first scene of Castlevania is? So there's some bats flying around, and then, oh, a knife stabs one of the bats, right? And then there's this lady, and she goes into a temple, or it's a big building, a mansion, whatever. Dracula's there. And the two of them start talking. And they start talking about like the political and economic state of their world. They're talking about how witches are discriminated against and how there's like different factions and kingdoms and this and that. And I'm like, these are two people in a room. We haven't seen any of this yet. Like this lady in the castle, I forget her name because I only watched the pilot, and she's like, the world is changing. I'm like, what world are you talking about? Like, we haven't seen any of it. This is a reverse shot dialogue scene. Like, I'm sorry, it sucks. It's not good, and I don't care if it gets good later. And you know, maybe just saying it sucks isn't productive. But it's easier to do that way. So I won't say it's like inherently bad or there's inherently anything wrong with it. But I will say the Castlevania opening is like the least creative way they could have done that opening. Like, exposition is a lower form of communication. It is. And so show don't tell, like, I think there's value to that. Be interpreted in so many ways, but yeah, I don't just want to hear about the world and what's going on. Haven't seen One Piece. Nope. Yeah, patronized by anime in comparison is a good way of putting it. You know, like Death Note is just like, oh, do you want to know how the Death Note works? I'm going to tell you exactly how the Death Note works. It's just like so hung up on its own systems and world building. It's frothing at the mouth to tell you, and it doesn't do with any degree of nuance or artistry or poetry or anything. It just says what it wants to say. And I've heard theories that a lot of that has to do with the Japanese language, and how it's perhaps a bit... it doesn't lend itself to poetry, shall we say. At least not deep poetry. But, you know, I don't know any Japanese people, so take all that with a grain of salt. Sometimes the most direct way of explaining something is the best way. True, but explaining something is not entertainment to a lot of people. A lot of people don't go into a story like, oh, I can't wait to learn all about this world and how it works and how the magic system works and how there's demons and there's 10 classes of demons who live outside of the city, but there's a special class of hunters who hunt the demons, but then also there's like a super hunter, and then there are cyborgs, and there's this and that. Like, some people don't care about learning all of that. They just want a good story. And so there's different types of brains, and I think some brains really like anime, and I don't have one of those brains. It doesn't work with me. Why is anime so weird? Rings a bell. I'm gonna check that out. Yeah, you know, I could be totally wrong about Japanese, the language. This is just something a guy told me. And he was talking about their vowel system and how it's kind of sort of a conlang, like it was created by Chinese people. And it's a newer language in comparison to some others. But not a linguist. Probably shouldn't be talking about that. Your instincts are right in that most of all anime is just bad. Yeah, and here's the thing, like, the labels good and bad, as much as I try to avoid them, sometimes they're a very helpful slap in the face. Like, one time I was working for a director and I wrote scenes for him, and he was like, oh, these are bad. I was like, well, what do you mean they're bad? They make sense. They work. This is a long time ago, but he was like, but it's just not good. I'm like, oh, what does that mean? And he's like, well, it would be good if instead of just talking, one of the characters was cooking, you know, during the scene. And now there's like dynamic stuff happening. And, maybe outside, like, you know, there's like an ambulance, you know, and everything's loud and chaotic because the point of the scene is that it's loud and chaotic. And maybe, you know, the two of them are arguing about something really innocuous, but it's not It's not really what they're arguing about. There's a deeper layer of meaning. And all of those things could be described as good, right? Just saying make it good is not necessarily helpful, but sometimes, yeah, you need to be told that you're shit. And while that's not an objective thing, sometimes treating it like objective is more helpful than trying to operate in a purely subjective framework. Because again, like, if something sells, it sells. If something works, it works. And there's no amount of deconstruction that can change that. If people like something, they like it. You cannot fake influence. Vinland Saga, yeah, a lot of people are saying that. I don't know. If a superhero story was set in our world and the superhero's goals were to solve the problems in our world, would you okay with buzzwords? Why not? If a superhero story were set in our world and the hero's goals were to solve problems in our world, would you be okay with buzzwords? I don't know. How would I write that story? Okay. Well, Planetina wants to solve climate change, right? It's Rick and Morty. And the whole point of that is that it's like a joke. Like, we're not meant to take that character seriously. Because it's so on the nose. It's so on the nose, like, political. So, I mean, it's not that I'm not okay with buzzwords, but when you do that, you're lowering your art. And I think that applies to anything, really. When you start using time-bound language and you refuse to speak in a more oracular way, I just don't think that's good. And I think you could write a story about modern issues that didn't need to engage with modern culture and modern vocabulary, and I think that would indeed be a higher grade of story. How would I write a story about superheroes in the modern world? I mean, it's antithetical, because if you have superheroes in your world, then it's not our world, right? Why not depict real culture? Well, real culture is so big, you know? Like, trying to say, like, oh, I'm writing a movie in our world. Do you have any idea how little that narrows it down? Like, The Bear is set in our world. But it's about cooking. It's about the restaurant business, right? So if you try to write even in a fantasy world, we don't even see the whole world, right? We see whatever, just the king's court, or just the perspective of a soldier. So it's not just about what the world is. It's about what slice of the world are you pointing your spotlight at. And the thing is, like, you got to get off the internet. Because people are the same as they've always been. Like, there really is no modern world. It's just people with old hardware running new software, and the moment something scares them, they revert back to old software. So it's understanding the universality of humans and how little our culture is really even... It's not special. Like, it's not... My Crip or a Blood? I live in LA. I'm not going to answer that question. Yeah, no, you should create in-group language for your little world, right? Don't, like, fully Maze Runner it, where you have all these proper nouns, like, oh, the Grange, the hey, the poo, da ba, the wall, like, where it's just a rapid-fire list of terms. But yeah, you should have ways that the characters conceptualize their world. Yeah, Reddit, Twitter, TikTok, delete it all. I'm off Instagram. I'm off Snapchat. I am off Reddit too. Yeah, I'm off pretty much everything. Sometimes I was never even on TikTok. It's all cancer. It's all darkness. Hate it. Everybody's saying Disco Elysium. I don't know what that is. I'll check that out. Should I move to LA if I want to get work and meet people? Again, getting work is the wrong way of thinking about it. Get work is like, you need to create value for others. I mean, yeah, you might be able to find a reliable job. You might not be. I don't know really anything about the job market because it's not what I do. What I do is I'm trying to create jobs. I'm not trying to get a job. Crispy or chewy? Crispy, but I'm trying to eat less bacon and other processed meats. They're like a class 2 carcinogen. Writer salary stuff. The whole world is getting shaken up right now. Everything is about to just... You can't think about the job market in the way it's existed for the last 50 years. Like, it just doesn't... You create jobs by creating a project or getting involved with a project that people are going to like. Like, you have to think bigger than... It's like, oh, what if I post this and get some views? You have to think, like, what are people going to want? Do you think you'd be in the position you're in if you never had social media besides YouTube? No position. I'm not really in a position. I mean, I'm in like an apartment in Los Angeles. I'm not rich. I support myself. I'm very privileged, but I don't know what kind of position I'm in. YouTube has always kind of had a special role in my life. Like, I've been into it for a while, so yeah, I think if I only ever had YouTube, because I've never even found any good writing advice anywhere but YouTube, you know? I'm a movie or book guy. Movies and audiobooks. I was talking about this earlier, but like, I can't... Like, I'm reading an audiobook of the Bible. You know how embarrassing that is? You create jobs by solving problems. Yeah, figure out what people's problems are and figure out a way to solve them. Don't just be like, oh, who's giving out money? Who wants to hire me? Who likes me? Create value. Be like, okay, what can I bring into the world that other people are going to benefit from? And then how can I bring people onto my team? How can I find like-minded, but also not like-minded people, right? Find people who don't agree with you. Find people who work in different ways and then convince them to join your team and then build a little... a self-sustaining sort of cell that resists entropy, you know, just it. This is, people don't understand. I don't really subscribe to a mercantilist perspective on value, you know, not in the entertainment world, at least. How would I convince the blissfully ignorant of an idea about the modern world? The ignorant are not happy. They're not. They are ghosts. They walk the earth thinking like that's not bliss. They're miserable. The best thing you can do with an ignorant person is to look them right in the eyes and ask them questions and talk to them. That's how you break ignorant people out of their ignorance. You don't approach it like an argument. Don't try to convince them of anything. Just be a brick wall of positivity. You know, and if they say something you disagree with, just kind of like be like, really? Huh? Yeah, because you're not going to convince them, right? So you might as well force them to convince themselves by just being don't stoop to their level. The moment you start arguing with them, you've stooped to their level. You've become another little agitated, fear mental person, and you're never going to get through to people like that. Because ultimately it's a battle of energies, man. Like, it's not, your arguments don't matter. I've had interactions with people like in almost other languages I barely understood. And like, the energy exists if you know how to pick up on it. That's all I'll say about that. That's very esoteric, but don't worry about what's being said. Worry about keeping yourself above it. Always stay above it. Don't let yourself get agitated, because the moment somebody drags you to that place of argument, you are just the same as them. Even if you'd have the right argument and they could have the wrong argument, but the fact that you're both in an argumentative state is the problem, you know? Because words don't matter. Words are fake. It's energies. It's the place you're coming from. Sailor Moon. Don't argue with anyone you think holds their positions for emotional reasons other than logic. Well, see, there's a secret third thing that's not emotions or logic. And I won't say what it is, but it's a thing. I think emotions and logic are both not good places to build your house. Logic is helpful, emotions are helpful, but the intellect can only serve. And emotions are in the body, right? They're states we find ourselves in. So, sorry, Tyler, has Tyler been asking me something? I want to answer Tyler. What does Tyler want? Response. What does it? Say it. Well, that's the thing. There's not really a word for it. It's just presence, just being present in the moment. And some people like to call that spirituality. Some people like to call that God. Some people like to call that gay Michael Jordan. Some people are just like, yo, this is the creative space. This is what it means to just be and exist in the world. Like, presence. Like you've been to an enlightened place before. Every time you said something that was like really like quick, and you're like, oh, I can't believe that just came out of my mouth. That was really clever. You've been to that place. So the game is just learning how to always be in that place, The game is just always like being able to recognize your own states and understand when you're in a lower state versus when you are in a higher state. And they're really only two. Like it's not a spectrum at all. Like you're either like in your zone or you're not. How do I do it? I got into whatever you want to call this, wellness, by I had fantastic people around me, first of all, and I also started going for walks at night, and I would just feel my legs and arms, and I would just really feel the sensations in my body. And when you just focus on like your toe, you can feel your toe kind of tingling. Like clasp your hands together right now. Just focus your hands together like this. Just clasp them. And now think about which hand is doing the feeling and which hand is being felt, right? And you'll find that you can switch them. You can actually like feel your left hand with your right hand, and you can feel your right hand with your left hand. And you don't have to move physically to do this. You can just shift your awareness. So yeah, it is meditation. It's active meditation, and it's more closely tied to creativity and logic and arguments. It doesn't exist on the periphery. Like your body is you, And so if you're in a terrible state in your body, you're not going to be creative. If your body isn't rested, you're not going to be creative. If you feel like shit, you should not be making decisions, period. If you feel terrible, lock yourself in your room. I'm not saying that, but just go away. Don't make choices when you feel like shit. It's a very simple rule for living your life. Sounds like a brain thing. Is this a brain thing? No, when I say body, I mean all of the intelligence that is in the body. There's so much of you that's below the neck, right? It's like when you feel fear, you feel it in your whole body. It's like this tingling. And that's because your nervous system is activated. And your nervous system is not just your brain. It's all your limbs. It's all of you. But some people are miserable all the time. So they don't even realize that like they're making decisions from a miserable place, because they're just like they don't even know that it could be better. And so they're kind of always in a lower state, and they just think that's all there is. And I've been sitting up so straight. You guys have no idea. I'm going to lean back in my chair. I meant to get a gamer chair, but I still have like a fold-up chair. Dude, yeah. Get like a silicone scrubber for exfoliation, because they don't get infected. Not infected. They don't. They are more resistant to bacteria. How do I mind control people through a movie? By inspiring them. That's the only way to really change people. Yep. You mentioned how the Type 8 arc is about becoming a leader or protector. I don't really get that. Like, they need to be in control. Yeah, so there are multiple Type 8 arcs. I think I mentioned this in that video. And one of them is when a person who's obsessed with control just submits and allows themselves to be. And the other one is when somebody who resists all connection integrates with others and becomes connected. And in the case of an 8, that kind of typically looks like becoming a leader. It doesn't have to be, right? But yeah, the leader arc is one version of that, I think. It's sort of the gunslinger who comes into town and has to help. It's like Logan, it's like, we need your help, cold, badass man. And it's like, no, I don't want to help you. I'm so closed off. But then they necessarily kind of stepped up to the challenge, and usually that is a type of leadership, right? So it's not like necessarily slotting into a hierarchy, but it's taking charge of the situation. And sometimes that situation is a large group of people, which would make the type 8 a leader. How do you know if a story event is good or bad for your narrative? Well, figure out what the event means for the characters. Like sometimes I'll know that a character, I'll just write like big failure, big emotional failure. And I don't even know what that is, right? So I start with the emotional placeholder. I start with the thematic placeholder. I don't try to figure out the event first. I figure out what does the event need to accomplish, and then I work backwards to figure out the event. And so if the story event accomplishes the goals that you need it to accomplish, then that event is appropriate. And if not, probably need to tweak it. Yeah, true bliss comes from detaching and letting go of desire. Would you say this contrasts or overlaps with finding fulfillment within creative pursuits? That's the thing I was talking about earlier. It's a weird sort of spectrum between that like presence and thinking, right? Because we need our minds and our intellect to create. Creation typically doesn't just pop into our head. A good idea can pop into your head, but a complex creative process requires a lot of thinking. But if you find that you've been like thinking yourself into a black hole for hours and hours, yeah, go for a walk, go get out and be a person. And so I think you need both. Yeah, you can't write a symphony when you are meditating, but you need to meditate to charge up those batteries. Sam Power. That's my take on that. Imagine writing characters that aren't mentally unstable. I mean, yeah, I think that's where more archetypal thinking comes in. It's good to know the most unstable ways a person can be, because then you can dial it back and just give a person a touch of that, right? So you need to understand the extremes in the same way that you get all of the bright colors on your palette, and then you tone them down and you mix them together. But you have to know what the big extremes are. And the Enneagram, yeah, is a system of extremes. It's a system of archetypes. And then it's your job to bury those archetypes in other stuff. So type 9 drifts through their life without social confidence, finds themselves in a situation that the society they define themselves by collapses. Yeah, I mean, that would look like a person completely not having a sense of self, but then they would have to really power themselves up and go and accomplish some goal. Yeah, there's not enough context there to really be able to say, but type 9s don't define themselves. I will say that. They're not people who say I am a lot. They're just like, this is what I do. I like to sit on my couch. But that's not necessarily a form of identification. Oh yeah, the type 6 thing. The Enneagram is also just whacked up because all the numbers are they're off kilter. Like the 1 should actually be a 9, and they all need to be rolled back 1 because they don't work with the tri-types. And I'm still grieving that, but whatever. Should you start your story with a fight scene as talking bad? Well, I don't know. I'm not saying anything's good or bad. I'm just saying Castlevania's ass. At least that pilot is. That's all I saw. But, if it sucks at the beginning, then it sucks. I'm not saying anything is good or bad. Like, to say that, yeah, I'm getting notifications, but it's not dying. I'm on a PC. I saw White Lotus Season 1. That's all I saw. If the world ends today and the MC keeps time looping the same day like Groundhog Day, well, Groundhog Day themes are universal, right? Because they're about cycles. They're about how a lot of us kind of live on loops, and that exists far beyond the Groundhog Day presence. Like Westworld does that in a very spiraling, kaleidoscopic way. So, recognition of patterns, right? Like, how many times do you have to do something before you actually clock, oh, wait, I really do that? There are things that you do that you don't even realize that you do. Like, you haven't consciously registered as like, oh, I really do do that all the time. Why do I do that? And so the characters need to recognize their patterns and then change. That's sort of what the Groundhog Day premise is for. Grief could work as a core urge. Well, I don't think I said grief. If I said grief was a core urge, that was false. I don't think grief is necessarily something that drives people. Grief is its own category of thing. I think what I meant is it can be the base of a character, but not necessarily a drive, right? But I'm also not terribly well versed in grief yet. So, I don't know. Some of my favorite stories: True Detective Season 1, Westworld Season 1, House of the Dragon Season 1. A lot of first seasons of things. What is flow? Haven't seen that. Transitioning fully from one Enneagram type to the other per sequel. That doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, I don't. If a character's entire being changes, it's not the same character. How is that the same character? You might as well just have a new character, Does it make sense for a dumb character to hold an insecurity about their own agency? Their own lack of agency? I think if you realize that you lack agency, you're not dumb, right? Because dumb people think they're perfect. So, you're on the right track. I think this would be a character realizing that they've kind of been pushed around and then doing something about it. So, yeah, that's a viable story. Again, what to read, just read everything, right? There's no... People are like, oh, what's the book that's going to tell me what to do? It doesn't exist. You have to read all of them and then cherry pick what works for you. Have I written stuff not for the screen? Not really, no. I'm sure I have, but I've always been about the visual medium. I think for the screen is kind of the ultimate... it's just a synthesis of so many different disciplines, I'm not saying it's better, but I am saying it's more integrative. Do you fear dying at any given moment? No. No, I do not. How do I like the writing in Arcane Season 2? I have a whole video about it. Go watch it. It's pretty good. And again, I know I talk about the Enneagram, so everybody's like, oh, he's the Enneagram guy. I'm not. It's just one thing. It's one of so many different lenses you can use, so don't get hung up on the Enneagram. It's just, if it doesn't work for you, don't force it. You needn't force it. If you have to force something, then it's not working for you. People don't realize that some things come easy, right? Something that's truly your purpose, your thing, it shouldn't feel like labor. But again, if all you know is labor, you're not going to be able to, you can't conceive of that. And that's why I was like miserable for the first 20 years of my life. Because I didn't know. I didn't have to be miserable. Yeah, I'm John Enneagram. If not Enneagram, I don't know. Just that guy who YouTubes sometimes. Some stories are general enough that they just fall under the self-esteem box. Well, again, the Enneagram is just a way of describing things. It's not any kind of ultimate truth, and so I don't see the need to categorize any of this. Like, how do I write that? You're asking, how do I write what you want to write? And then if you find that these tools work, then you can use them. But don't write something based on my Enneagram videos. Like, those are for your existing thing. Those are maybe something that could get you out of a rut you're in. But don't say, oh, I want to write something based off of, like, it's kind of a copy of a copy. You know, because you can't write something based off of an analysis. It's like asking ChatGPT to write a movie, but only giving it Rotten Tomatoes reviews. That's what it's like trying to write something based on my videos. It doesn't make sense. Like, you have to actually engage with creativity itself, not just analysis. How did I become friends? When did I become friends with Shni? I think we've been in contact for maybe a year and a half now. I believe I reached out to him. I think we were in a shared server. Never met him in person. Maybe I'll convince him to come to VidCon this year. But thank you. I'm going to heart your thing. It's the going to Home Depot only works when you know what you're going to build metaphor. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Do you ever use Chat? Yeah, ChatGPT is fantastic. It's like, I can be like, hey, come up with 20 different, I don't know, locations that a medieval story could be in. And then it'll just do it. It'll be like, oh, you could be in the tavern. You could be in the blacksmith shop. And some of it is obvious, but it just takes the load off, you know? And it allows you to focus on things that really matter. Haven't seen the studio. What is creative? Creative is... it's what happens when you're in alignment with being, I suppose. Ask vague questions, get vague answers. Not they're not true, but like, I think, yeah, creativity is just, it comes from the best parts of ourselves, you know? I don't think creativity is mashing a bunch of things in your brain to make something new. I think that is what AI is. I think creativity is intention. So, actually knowing what you want to do is the true essence of creativity. Who is Shni? He's another YouTuber. Really cool guy. Very well traveled. He's like a whiz at airline miles and stuff. Do I read fiction? Not a lot. Yeah, I'm still here. I'm gonna hang up shortly, but I'm probably gonna do this again because it's just fun. It's fun that I don't want to say I don't care as much, but now that I'm kind of doing the LA thing, and there's a lot of other stuff in my life, it's like I can kind of relax about YouTube, and that's really refreshing. And so just being able to come on here and be like, yo, best screenwriting book. Again, there is no best book for things. Like, you have to consume all of the books. The value is in the plurality. So you should read things you don't even think you'll agree with. I'll like click on videos that I'm like, I'm not going to agree with this, but I want to know. I want to know how the people think. So there is no best screenwriting book or best book for anything or best whatever. You know, you just got to consume it all. And once you do, the truth will be apparent. You will begin to see the patterns. You will begin to see, it's like, oh, everybody's saying this, like, just in different ways. Whereas, oh, maybe this idea is a little bit more niche, right? Curiosity is everything, man. Curiosity is the defining trait of a predator. Yeah, have a goal, do it. But it's not just a goal. You have to actually be excited. Like, it has to be something that gives you joy. If your art doesn't give you joy, you'll burn out. I'm not saying like what you should do. That's a reality. That is the fact. If you don't enjoy it, if you don't at least like 30% of the time feel like you are on top of the world because of what you're writing, like you'll just be miserable and you'll never have the motivation to do it. So make sure it makes you happy, you know? Otherwise, you might as well just be doing any other job. Like, what makes creative work special is the joyful synthesis of it. Drop a freestyle. Inoperable cautionlessness, comma drop, and college prodigy drip. I'm off the wall with this bitch's fight for me like I'm Mike Vick. Might fuck around and get the whole world sick. I'm bred different, like whole grain, smoking on romaine. That's all I got. All caps, Hudo. One movie or TV show everyone should watch. Aguirre, The Wrath of God by Werner Herzog. Yep. It's great. It's just a frighteningly grounded take on evil. No, I am tired. Yeah, I'm very tired. And, you know, I can be tired in live stream. Nothing is stopping me from doing this. Favorite superhero? It's a tough one. Conceptually, I really love Green Lantern. I haven't really seen any Green Lantern me that I've liked, but I like that as a concept, like using this magical thing to create constructs. Like, I think that's fun. Do you still love the Avatar movies? I think they're very well made, you know, and again, if something is very, very popular, there is a reason. Things do not catch on for no reason. The reason Avatar is huge is because it scratches the brain, you know, it just works. And that is the up and down of it. It's not an opinion, it's just a fact, you know, if something really works on a massive global scale, yeah, it's because it frickin' works. It's because it's doing something. It contains truth. Like, yeah. Severance. I watched the pilot, and only the pilot. Yeah, Magneto, goated, dude. Magneto is probably my favorite, like, supervillain. I just like watching him, like, throw his balls in the second X-Men movie where he escapes. Too much iron in your blood. It's good. Upcoming Superman movie. It's going to be good, I think. It looks really inspired. Transformers movies. I will always have a special place in my heart for the first one. The rest of them, but that first one, it's just it's well produced. Like, the reason the CGI holds up is because they actually created those models, and they knew what the models would look like and how the light would play off of them. Whereas you look at the later ones and you're like, oh, they just put this into the composition. But every single, like, Transformer shot in the 2007 movie is deliberate. Like, they weren't just like, oh, we'll add it in later in CGI. Like, no, every single shot is a blend of practical effects, and, like, you know, you see, like, Bumblebee's head when he's on the truck. It's all real. It's like they knew exactly what these things would look like. They planned out these shots exquisitely. They'll bring the camera around Optimus and do all this crazy shit with him. And the score believes in itself. Like, the actors are, they're fine. I feel like 75% of acting is just knowing your lines and hitting your marks. Like, I don't need a fucking monologue from Megan Fox. Just, drive the truck. What do you think of the term overrated? It's a word about words. It's a discourse term. I don't need discourse. Like, overrated, all you're talking about is the way other people think. You're just like, oh, I think other people think about a thing too much. Think. Like, what are you even talking about? You're screaming into the void. Like, that's discussions of, it's like, I think too many people like this. It's like, okay, what are you contributing to anything by saying that? Nothing. Like, you're engaging with an entirely detached cloud of perspectives that never really touches ground. Like, that's what online discourse is. Like, all of us, all YouTubers are grifters. Like, that's what we are. We are engaging with, I don't say all YouTubers are grifters. That's a strong way of putting it. But ultimately, yeah, we're playing the attention marketplace. So you mean that overrated is overrated? No, I mean overrated is vapid. It's just not rating as a concept, reviewing as a concept. It's like, come on. Yeah, I haven't seen the 28 series. The last zombie thing I watched was Train to Busan. And I think that gets pretty melodramatic. First music album, Section 80. Love me some Section 80. I saw the pilot of Chainsaw Man. An anime girl showed me one time. I was like, why is that little chainsaw a dog? That's crazy. Do I read comics? No. Heat. Love Heat. R.I.P. Val Kilmer. You're not selling something you don't believe in. I wouldn't consider a grift. Yeah, but you are selling your presence. Like, you're selling attention. So, like, if you're holding people's attention on the attention marketplace, it just means you're doing something to retain their awareness. You're not actually giving them a product. Like, it's all entertainment in a way. I mean, yeah, there can be utility in information shared via the internet. But, yeah, really, yeah, the more I step away from online, the more I'm like, oh, all this is fake. It's inconsequential. Take away the internet, and like, a lot of industries just still exist, being what they are. Like, most of the world still functions without the internet. Your art is also a product. Yeah. It is. I think if you love it, that's all that really matters. If something excites you and you're really down for it, because the thing is, I've met people, like, I worked with this one guy who was just trying to create a story that other people would like. And he was like, oh, do you think they'll like if I do this? No, you think I'll like if the protagonist, like, gets the girl at the end? I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you want from me? Do you want me to tell you what I think? Because I'm not an expert in what people like. You have to actually define the goal. So, the goal is to make something everybody likes. I'm like, okay, well, that's not particularly inspired. You might as well just be a bot, my guy. Yeah, most YouTube critics are motivated by spite. They are. And a lot of people think, oh, they're just grifting, they're just scamming. No, they believe it. I was one of them. They believe it. It's a big part of their identity. It's pathetic. A war between art and entertainment. Yes, indeed. They not like us. What does... now that you see yourself ending consult... No, I'm just going to charge a whole lot more for it. But no, I got some other projects right now that are taking up all my time, so... Mm-hmm. I plan on doing more consulting, but also money is not everything to me right now. I'm kind of thinking more long term. Like everybody thinks that, oh, just having, like obviously we need money to survive, right? But even if when you are surviving, like a person who makes like $75,000 a year is still pretty close to being dead broke. Like that's not much. Real value is in infrastructure. And that's kind of why I stepped away from YouTube, because there's no infrastructure. It's isolating. It doesn't put you in alignment with institutions of people. Institutions are not overrated. Actually, it's very helpful to align oneself with institutions, with big conglomerations of people who have money, who have systems. Yeah. When do you think consulting will resume? I don't know. I think this summer I will find my center and I will have a better answer to that question. What is love? I think love is it's helping people. Expecting nothing in return. Dude, Megan Fox in Transformers was my sexual awakening. Don't even come at those are some precious memories, okay? You guys have no idea what it was like to be like a 6-year-old when that movie came out and being like, oh my God, who is this siren on the screen in front of me right now? Oh, I'm going to charge so much more. Yeah, the thing is, like, if you can get away with charging a lot of money for a completely non-essential service, do it. There's no ethics to this shit. It's art. Like, it's like, if anybody deserves their money, it's artists. Like, I mean that. Obviously, there are really predatory institutions that exist around art. And artists are often tricked and duped into doing things that, yes, good math, 2001. I was born a month before 9/11. I actually looked up at the TV and I was like, look, Mom, it's 9/11. But yeah, what I was saying is, despite a lot of the really unethical stuff that happens in the entertainment industry, art itself, if people are voluntarily paying for your art, yeah, you deserve that money. Like, they didn't have to buy your art. They didn't have to stream your song. They didn't have to consume what you were doing. But they did, right? If you sell water, if you're Nestle, yeah, you don't deserve that money. Like, you're dealing in human needs. But if you sell art, if you made something, you can charge whatever the hell you want for it. And if somebody wants to complain, they can just not buy it. Artists beat the game. Instances. What's a song that popped up for me? What's it called? Closer to Fine by the Indigo Girls is a Type 6 song, if I've ever heard one. Time to Sell Oxygen, O'Hare Air. Well, okay, this is where I get back into like idea guys versus craftspeople. Kevin Dang. I hate to just keep hammering on this point, but commissions are not the same as like putting your art into the world. Like, nobody commissioned Kendrick Lamar to create Not Like Us. Nobody was like, oh, can you make a song that's blah, 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 blah? At least not that I know of. These are despite the fact that, yeah, they're both creative acts and they both result in artistic products, night and day, dude. Doing art on commission is not the same as putting art out into the world and harvesting money from it. Like, it's just a very, very different process. What's California Girl? You mean Katy Perry? California. That's what I'm saying, dude. Not Like Us is it's a statement that works on every level. That everybody can take that statement and be like, oh, that applies to my life. That's why it works. That's why things go big. Yeah, commissions versus non-commissions. I'm awake because I drank a cup of coffee like 2 hours ago, and it's starting to wear off. Yeah, no, I'll get my 8 hours. I just wanted to do this, is all. Writing prompts and challenges. I feel like prompts are like maybe a good exercise for some people. But I've never gotten a ton out of them. Yeah, but a 3 could listen to Not Like Us and be like, oh, it's about the losers versus the winners. A 6 could listen to Not Like Us and be like, oh, it's about our team versus their team. A 5 could listen to Not Like Us and be like, oh, well, it's about the logicals versus the illogicals. An 8 could be like, oh, it's the strong versus the weak. I'm talking about the statement itself, the title of the song, not necessarily the verses, which are about one Aubrey Drake Graham. Do you have a number in mind for the summer? I don't know. Pilar Alessandra told me I should charge $250 minimum. I might take that to heart. I don't know. My phone battery is running low. And by phone battery, I mean my brain. Oh, 9? Oh, they would just be like, oh, this is a fun song. Again, the Enneagram is... I know that I've talked about it, but it is not an absolute system by any stretch of the imagination. And really, you should have no loyalty to the Enneagram or any other lens. Fundamentally, you need to create, or rather, build your own creative intuition. And while systems like the Enneagram can supplement that, it's important that you have a creativity that does not rely on such crutches. The intellect can only serve. So no idea, nothing I've ever said on my channel is actually going to build the story for you. The Enneagram is also interesting because I've kind of found myself coming back around to it. Like, it'll be like, oh, I've left it behind, and then you find another higher way to relate to it. And I think a lot of ideas are like that. Sometimes you return to something years later, and you find a completely new perspective on it. Finding work partners or just work in general. Honestly, just collaborating with another human being on a project is the start of everything. Make something with somebody. because forcing yourself to hold yourself accountable is so much harder than just having somebody there who's also into it. Did you know that Mecha Jack Black with tank treads is also a butterfly? Yeah, I didn't even know that. I just found that out. And did you also know that he just ran over Dwayne The Rock Johnson? And did you also know that these two heads are low-key conjoined twins, and they are doing a fun dance together. This is the end of the stream, by the way. It's over. They're kind of just having a fun time. And yeah, thank you all for coming to my art exhibit. I hope you've enjoyed my abstract sensibilities. And I will see you when I see you. Keep on living and laughing and loving and then doing all the other things you do. And, don't lose faith. Hang in there.